Thank you for the protesters who have come out and assaulted me already. I'm not even sure what you're doing, but if at any point any of the protesters would like to come and talk to me and have an actual conversation, a dialogue, as it were, that we used to do in this country once upon a time, I'm more than happy to do that. So and if anyone would like to speak to them on my behalf and invite them over so, you know, we can give them a microphone, they can have a public space in which to display their opinions and tell me what they think, I'm happy to do that anytime. But, right, in the meantime, I suppose we'll talk about the state of politics now, shall we? Do you all think it's going well, politics in Britain at the moment? Think it's going according to plan? Because one thing I've noticed is there's a particular sort of consensus in Westminster. They don't like it when regular people end up with their own platforms. They don't like it when regular people come out of the woodwork and grow outside of their shadow in a way that they weren't expecting and they don't have any control over. And then when these people stand for office, you get what's happening to me. It's not very pleasant, but one of the most important things I think that in the face of this kind of tyranny is not to back down. Hello, Milo. Would you like a microphone?
Hello? Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't want to be on time. I consider that very rude. Please carry on. Don't let me interrupt you.
Well, I was just saying that the political consensus from Westminster is if you are not following the rules of their dinner party, you do not get to engage in politics in Britain. I think this is unacceptable. I think that Westminster has too long been the hub, the sole hub of politics in this country. I think we need more devolution in this regard. I think we actually need to hear from regular people. And I'm guessing, given the number of people who have turned up today, you guys think that as well. Who feels like they are being represented by the Parliament at the moment? Not one hand up. Amazing. No one. I assume that the people who have come to see me voted to leave, as did two-thirds of the constituencies of this country, and 3/4 of our MPs want to remain. This means that the Parliament is not representative of the people, and that's the Parliament's sole job. The Parliament is also not sovereign, which is actually against our historic constitution, which is something that is being overwritten by the European Union. And so it's rather ironic when Gina Miller is standing on the principle of the sovereignty of Parliament when she is actively trying to give that sovereignty away. This is the state in which we find ourselves. And the political establishment don't really know what to do. They are panicking. And that's why they're lashing out. They're deplatforming us, they are smearing us, but we have to carry on. This can't last forever, and if we stand firm in the face of this, people will see that we do have principled opposition to what it is that they are trying to do to us. We will continue. All we want is a fair accounting, to use our free speech, and to have a political dialogue. I don't know why they have such a problem with that. Well, actually I do know, but I won't go into it right now. But I think it shows that they have something very fragile to defend, a particular kind of moral order that they seek to impose on you. Because you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, these people live in a world of words. They have never given a salute, they have never picked up a shovel, they have never laid a brick. These people believe that all virtue comes from that which is said. Now, I disagree. I believe actions speak louder than words. So when you have the politically correct over there throwing things at us and trying to assault us to the point where I have to hire very, very trustworthy chaps to be security for me to just come and talk about the state of British politics, you can see the difference. I consider that to be morally reprehensible. I do not consider a joke that I made on Twitter to be particularly important. But which one do they focus on? They don't care that I've been attacked by Antifa multiple times. I was at King's College London with a Jewish objectivist called Yaron Brook. We are both limited government chaps. We do not want the government controlling our lives. We do not want any kind of arbitrary discrimination. And yet we were called Nazis and attacked by communists who assaulted 2 of the security guards at the university. And we and the audience had to physically fight off. No condemnation. Not covered in the media. They do not care. I make one joke about some bitch in Parliament. And you never hear the end of it. And I stand by that, and so does Jess, just so you know. She was very proud to call herself a bitch, so it's nice to know I won that argument. So I guess this is the kind of situation that I think we find ourselves in, where it's forming something of a popular revolt against the powers that be. And so I've decided to bring as many of the revolutionaries as I can with me, because we are free speech extremists, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a country that does not have free speech, does not want free speech, because, after all, if you went to a polite dinner party with a bunch of lords and ladies, you wouldn't feel free to say exactly what you thought, would you? And that's the tenor that they want political life in this country to be like. Milo, how are you doing, my friend?
Thank you. Nice for you to invite me. This is a very familiar scenario for me, being drowned out by tuneless, talentless weirdos. There's elevator music. I thought I came down the elevator in Marks and Spencer's. I think they were playing the same number. Now, as you can gather if you've listened to him for about 15 minutes or 15 seconds, he's a very nice, reasonable, normal person. I am not a nice, reasonable, normal person. I am an attention seeker. I am a little shit. And I do that for a living, and that means that I have some very great successes and some very public and humiliating failures. I'm like that band whose first album goes quadruple platinum and they spend the next 5 years wondering what the fuck they're gonna do now. Hasn't been easy the last 2 years. But I've been watching other people sort of pick up the mantle that I started on college campuses, and probably the one that made me take the most notice is him. You started as a reasonable, centrist, liberal, whatever, and now, just sounds like a Daily Mail reader to me, which in my world is a compliment. But him 2 years ago, he would have punched me. But what it really means is that the political consensus has shifted, not him. And reasonable, respectable, normal people, I may not be one of them, but I certainly understand them, I think, have found themselves in parties like UKIP, which is a very remarkable state of affairs. I'm sort of terrified by the turn that things have taken in America. I expect it here. Hasn't really been free speech here for a really long time. We're used to having people tell us what we can say and what we can do and how we can think. It's still not a nice sight watching journalists crow and applaud the erosion of free speech. It's sort of chilling. But not completely unexpected.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we've
then
got
don't.
some lovely attention seekers who are vying with
what is
you.
that?
And
Is
you can tell that by the smirks on their faces that they're not really very serious about what they're doing.
No, I don't. What is candy fanny? What? If you're exhausted because you're vegan, you can't hold it up for very long, can you? Like, could a meat eater please help us so I can read it? No, it's nice. It's that lovely glittery pink vagina. I don't know what they look like in real life, so I can't tell you if it's any good. Is it an accurate rendition of a vagina? So tell me, it's been. You might have to turn it. You get. Oh, I see. You get so confused when you're vegetarian and vegan. You start to lose sense of direction. You see, they've done it, and then it's sort of fallen sideways, and then they didn't notice, and they wrote the words on anyway. That's so rude. She says it's a self-portrait. Very, very rude. You don't catch me saying things like that, being offensive in that way. It's a bit of a lackluster effort, ladies, isn't it? Never mind. Oh God. Okay, let's get back to it. Hello. What does this say? Milo. In English, it's fuck off. Oh, in English, it's fuck off. Well, thank you. Milo hates everyone, including himself. I think we all know that's not true. Many people I admire. Darth Vader. Skeletor, Margaret Thatcher. This one, I think, is pretty brave. And I'll tell you why. And then you can have the mic back on.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's all right. So you flew me over here. You want me to talk or
not?
I did,
yeah. Sorry, you go ahead.
In America, you can normally find a hearing to respond. Although last week I was banned from the evil empire conglomerate, leaving me with about one social network left. You can normally find someone to print your response to things. But over here, you can, in the course of an interview or a long YouTube live stream, crack a joke or make a remark. Was what he said about that Labour woman especially hysterical? Not really. Was it tasteless? Mildly, not in a way that bothered me. But for this to trigger a sort of campaign of hate where every comment he ever makes is used as evidence that he is some sort of morally reprehensible monster, contrasted with the reality of who he really is, isn't just funny, but it's scary. And it's especially scary to me that the founder of this party now cannot see, has sort of signed up, you know, with the establishment. Is effectively wants to become the opposition party of the establishment rather than the mischievous insurgent that this party was always supposed to be. Well, this is now the face of mischief and insurgency, and UKIP is now fighting two parallel wars, both essential to the security and success and future of this country. One of them is Brexit, which is a given. But the other one is your right to be, do, and say whatever the fuck you want without getting arrested because you called a police horse gay. Or because you taught your dog to do a salute from a dark period in history. Or any other totally harmless bit of tomfoolery. And people will say, oh, well, you know, they might have got arrested, but they dropped the case. They only drop these cases when sufficient publicity is paid to them. And we did a live stream the other day. I hope you look it up because it was a good conversation. He's completely wrong about plastic bags. Completely wrong about plastic bags. I don't want the government interfering in what
it's
Marks
actually in the UKIP manifesto.
Well, UKIP is completely wrong about plastic bags. Sorry. Everything else is good. I read the whole thing. Everything else is good. Plastic bags, not so much. But I hope you'll look up that conversation that we had, and in which he told me, I think the number was 1,500. 1,500 people in 2017 arrested for mean words on the internet. And it's not an exaggeration to say that's literally any of us, anytime in jail. And you heard about 4 or 5 of those cases. And because the police was so embarrassed by the publicity, those 4 or 5 cases were either dropped or ultimately failed. But that leaves 1,445 people who either served custodial sentences or were fined. And that doesn't mean that they tell you how much you owe. That means the government reaches into your bank account and takes whatever money out that it thinks you owe them because you cracked a joke on the internet. This is 1,445 people who had convictions for mean words on the internet. That is insane and terrifying. And that's why I'm here supporting him. And that's why you should support him too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Milo. I really appreciate that. So I would like to talk to some of our protesters because I really want to know what's going on in their heads. Does anyone think they might be able to ask them if they'd like to come over and have a chat? Yeah, sir, if you would be so kind, I'd really appreciate it.
Hey. What's your name? Sorry. Carl.
There's a spare one.
Yeah, so Carl.
Yes.
I'm Abhishek. I'm not a protester.
That's okay.
I just walked down the road and I saw UKIP was here. And I just have one question about this gentleman saying something about plastic. What is your opinion about plastic infiltration in the UK economy? And where do you stand? Where does UKIP stand in terms of eco-friendliness and environmental sustainability, such as banning plastic from the likes of M&S to the Sainsbury's and the Tesco's, as well as Greenpeace standing up for what people say in the plastic environment, why it should not be a part of the economy whatsoever. Because it's really, in the lack of a better word, it's fucking the environment. And we are not happy with it. We come from the same establishment. Where does UKIP stand?
Well, I don't want to speak for UKIP as a whole because there are doubtless going to be people who disagree with me. But in regards to plastic bags in the specific, I am actually completely in agreement that we should probably just get rid of them. I don't think the 5p tax does enough. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I just pay it. It's 5p because I need a convenient plastic bag. It's the path of least resistance. But yeah, it sums up everyone, doesn't it? Of course it does. But I tell you what, sir, if you'd like to talk, we can talk. You don't have to just shout. You can come over and have a conversation with me.
There's no more
But
effortless way through life than waiting for an hour for an
hang on a
opportunity to say,
second.
that sounds like
Hang on a
you.
second. I'm just answering this gentleman's question, if that's okay. Thank you. But yeah, so I don't think the drive in UKIP would be to get rid of plastics entirely. I mean, honestly, I think that's probably an unfeasible goal. But what I think we should do is look at the direction in which we want to go and take small steps, as if you're climbing any mountain, and you've got to take small steps. You just look at what's directly in front of you. And I think the first thing is, despite the principled opposition from my colleague here, I think that is actually a sensible thing to do. Because, I mean, there are alternatives.
When you say something like it is not doable, I come from a country with 1.3 billion people, and we have done it. So it is definitely doable. We are talking about 66 million people being imposed on a certain norm, where we know that it is not good for the planet. We know that it is not decomposable. I was at what's that thing called again? The Excalibur Lake, very close to Cornwall. No, not Tintagel, but basically a place where you have. They've banned it there. Point being that there are beaches which I have been to Cornwall and I found seals literally on the shores, randomly opened by seagulls, and they stopped eating them because there was plastic inside them. Not one, not two, thousands.
Well, I agree. I agree that plastic waste is rather disgusting. And it is from this kind of... Honestly, it's a kind of moral revulsion of what plastic is doing to the environment. Like I read an article about microplastics in the environment. I mean, I'm not any kind of expert on this, but I completely agree. It's a problem. It's going to become a bigger problem as we allow it to carry on. It is dealable. You're right, but it's not the practical. Just banning plastics. That's something the government could do. Yeah, of course they could. Yeah, of course they could. Well, it's completely within the power of the government to be able to do this.
In fairness,
it's
about
about
a lot
the political
easier
will.
in an emerging economy to make those kinds of changes. And it remains true that, is it 96% of the plastic in the ocean comes from the developing world and the global south?
Yes.
China and whatever. I mean, if you're talking about the Indian subcontinent, I mean, pollution from fossil fuels or whatever. I mean, you guys in China contribute the vast majority. Right, and I understand that, but it's easy to ban something in an emerging economy because you don't have the entrenched sort of, I personally think this stuff is best left to the market. I don't want and maybe I've been radicalized being in the US, and he would say that I have.
I would say so, yeah.
No, I've been in the US for a while,
Radical
and I think about it. Do I
republicanism.
want the government invading even more aspects of my life, getting in between the relationship between me and Marks and Spencer's and interfering in our business dealings? Not really. No, I don't. Most people agree that less plastic would be good. The place to do that is with consumers and businesses, not another license to government to make more rules and regulations and restrictions that they can then take as permission to go even further later. So I agree on the environmental principle. I would just much prefer it wasn't the government doing it.
Can I ask you a question? Do you eat fish?
Do I eat fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I eat everything.
Okay, you eat everything, right?
Yes.
So when fish is having microplastics, which you are throwing out in the oceans, not recycling, and not you in particular. Don't take this
Well, no,
personally.
probably me. I mean, I'm a very heavy consumer of everything.
So am I.
But birds
Look
make
at me.
nests.
All I'm saying
human
is-
beings make cities. I mean, this is a natural consequence of being at the top of the
course.
food chain. We consume things and we produce waste. I don't feel bad about that, especially. It would be good if we didn't cause too many problems for other species. It would be good if we didn't cause too many problems for ourselves. But there are certain inescapable realities, like we are going to have to mine the earth dry of certain elements to keep making computers. Would I rather leave those elements in the earth where they're not achieving or accomplishing or contributing to anything because they're not part of any ecosystem, or would I rather have more iPhones? I'll take the iPhones.
Of course you will.
And so, this is a natural consequence.
But the question
of us
is,
being
how do we infiltrate? And I use this word very regularly. How do we infiltrate a system to make it more eco-friendly for all of us to have iPhones?
You
and
just,
at the
just
same
make
time?
it more expensive for business to do.
No, we actually
one
don't,
thing than
because
to do
the moment
other.
you normalize something and the moment there's a supply for the demand which is created within the public, so of all of these public, including yourself, think about sustainable mentality, supply demand easily cuts itself out. That's what elasticity of demand is all about.
Well, that may be true for morally upstanding people like you, but I don't care. I don't care
It's
enough
not
to
about
change
morally
my.
upstanding. This is
I
not
don't-
about morals.
Well,
You're getting
I
it wrong.
won't-
Nature and morals are two different
I
things.
don't
I
agree.
won't
I
care
don't- I
enough to
don't
change
think
my
the- I don't
opinion
think
until the
you can
alternative is better and cheaper. If anyone here has tried to drink from a paper straw, this is the sum total of my argument against government interference in plastics, right? Leave me alone. I take plastic straws to restaurants, and neighboring tables ask
Okay.
me for them, This is not something I want the government getting involved in. I will care when two conditions are met. The alternative is cheaper, and the alternative is better. And
Well,
you should
hopefully
that
focus on
happens
private sector
Yeah.
answers that accomplish that goal.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will fail.
And that private sector can only accomplish that goal provided the ethos of the private sector is questioned. And that involves the freedom of speech, which all of you
What
and
do you
all
mean
of us
the ethos
are
of the
believing
private
in.
sector is questioned? I mean, Silicon Valley is universally and completely environmentalist, feminist, left-wing. The banking sector's going that way. Every major industry has the politics that you're asking them for. So all you're really so you've won that already, but it isn't happening. Why isn't it happening? Because the alternatives are not yet
yeah, of
cheaper
course.
and better.
And that comes with time. As time
Right.
progresses, it comes.
But
So
you,
there
but
are-
you,
there are-
but
there are
you,
many
but you
peop-
won that
there
already.
are-
I mean,
no,
you go
see,
into
it's
you
not
go
about me winning anything.
but I'm
It's
saying
not
you're-
about me. This is about the planet.
But the
All I'm
mindset
saying
change that
is-
you're asking for is already done.
No, it's done. But is it really? Because you just said that, yeah, let's use plastic anyway. So how is the mindset done when you are the same one saying
Because
that?
they haven't made it cheaper and better for me yet.
Well,
and when
it
they
will
do,
have-
then I'll switch. And that's
Exactly.
the
And that
only
can-
way that most people will switch.
Of course, and that can only happen if the supply and demand manage to meet. And look, I've taken too much of your time. I'm going to take a leave now. All
Thank
I'm
you.
saying is that the elasticity of demand can only be met if the ethos of every single individual in the private sector can be changed. And that can only happen if we choose to accept that change. Thank
Okay,
you.
none of which requires government intervention, which is what he wants.
Well, I don't want it. I think it's necessary evil, frankly. But the thing is,
It's not necessary. It's just evil.
Well, no, I think it is a necessary evil. But I find it interesting how you both agree on the end goal that it would be better to have plastics out of the environment.
Well, actually, I discovered that we agree on everything. It's you that we don't agree with.
Well,
because
that's okay.
Because we don't feel it necessary for the iron boot, the steel toe cap of the government to crush innovation and private enterprise
Sure.
and consumer freedoms.
I do
we
appreciate
actually.
that, yes.
It sounds, in fact, as though we agree perfectly well.
Yes. But the point is, you want personal responsibility in regard to choosing something other than a plastic bag.
Well, I don't need people to be personally responsible. Or if you want to affect this kind of change, you make it more profitable for private enterprise to pick the environmental option. That's exactly
Okay.
what has happened in many
Well-
in many places, in many other industries, in many things.
Yeah.
You make it more of a headache for them to do the opposite.
Well, that,
Perfect example of this is Apple. Apple, while marketing to rich left wingers, never gave a stuff about the environment until they were forced into it by Greenpeace, and then they started using sustainable materials in their monitors and their microchips.
Yeah.
Did not require government legislation yet,
Wow.
because Apple is one of the biggest companies in the world. Had a
Yeah.
colossal difference to the environment, and that's how to do it.
Well, I'm not in disagreement with you. I don't say
Well, you
that
are,
don't-
because you want the
no.
government to ban
Listen,
plastic bags. I
listen.
don't. I want the government to get out the way.
Yes.
And if you care about it, go tell the chief executive of Marks and Spencer's.
I appreciate your position on that. Right. But the thing that it does is actually goes
We will have many
into
more streams
this
because
chap's
until
point
he
here.
agrees that I'm
Milo,
right, I
give
will
it-
never let it go.
Right. It goes into this chap's point here. Right. So you were shouting something from the back. Can we instead of shouting, can we have a discussion?
I'll take a microphone instead.
Yes.
What I was shouting was, you're talking about banning something and then flippantly saying, oh, just pay the 5p and take one anyway. And that sums up the politics of you and your party,
Isn't
doesn't
that
it?
no? What
That's
do
exactly
you mean?
what you said.
Yeah, but I don't.
So rather
I
than
still
being
use
part of the
plastic
difference,
bags
why?
because it's the path of least resistance.
And
because
that's
it's
the answer to the problem.
Yeah, because often I have something more important than what bag I'm going to carry my home in.
Often you do.
On
What
the-
about the
on
day
the-
before? Or the day before you didn't?
Sorry, sorry. Go on. Say again.
The day before you didn't?
I didn't
drive
do
a
what?
car?
No, I don't know.
You take a bus?
Yeah.
Carry
and
some
trains.
sort of bag on the bus and train?
Sometimes, yeah.
Then take a bag for
Yeah,
life?
but I'm not a raging environmentalist. My politics are just different.
What
to
are
yours.
you raging?
Free speech advocate.
Okay, yeah, that's a thing.
I'm just
'Cause
raging.
Your
freedom of
entire
speech come
contention
with
here.
this-
Hang on. Your entire contention here is I don't share your interests, and I'm sorry, I just don't.
You don't know what my interests are.
Well, you've come here saying, well, you're a hypocrite for not doing X on plastic
So
bags.
you don't share my interest in destroying hypocrisy.
I don't think there's such a thing as destroying hypocrisy. Point to a person you think isn't a hypocrite.
Oh, that's
Exactly. There isn't a single
absolutely.
person
Everyone
in
is
the
to
world.
some extent or
Yeah.
another. But I tell you what,
So
I will
there's no
point to.
point hunting
I will
down
po-
hypocrisy
but I-
because what that is just an ad hominem. That's a way of avoiding a conversation about a particular issue.
Sure, but what I will point out is people that are hypocrites but aren't standing up pretending to be better than people that aren't.
Oh, who's saying they're better than who?
Well, you're putting yourself at the front here.
Yeah, but that doesn't make me better than anyone, does
You're
it?
right. It doesn't make you better than anyone.
And I think that if you knew anything about me, you'd be very aware that I advocate what I call an eye-level worldview,
Sure.
as in you don't see yourself above other people,
Sure.
especially when it comes to moral posturing, which is what I think
Yeah.
you came here to do in the first place.
not
Let's
at all.
be
I didn't-
honest.
I didn't come here to
That's
posture at
exactly
all.
what you did when you were yelling at me, my friend.
No,
So,
that wasn't
come
posturing.
on,
That was
let's-
reacting. That was reacting
Okay,
to
but
someone
that's still
talking about
moral
caring about
posturing,
something.
is it not?
Can
No,
I
that's
score
reacting.
them?
Of course it is.
Can I score them?
Any-
Like the last one was a solid 8 because he knew what he was talking about. Reasonable, respectful. That's
any
it.
I was
allegation-
reacting
You're a
any-
2.
to a comment that
two.
struck
Yeah,
me
two.
as hypocritical.
Yes, but that's moral
And I was
posturing.
called-
Any allegation of hypocrisy is moral posturing.
Okay. I'll
Of course it is. It
accept
can't be anything
in which case, my
Sure.
reaction to your comment was moral posturing, and I don't apologise for it. I didn't agree with your
fine.
comment.
You
I
don't
think
have
it's
to.
I think it's unreasonable to be so flippant about something that is a massive issue, and to do so in front of people who take the words that you use on board. And
Calm
and,
down.
and-
They're
and-
rational thinking beings of their own. I mean, these people.
Well,
have
I've
got
had a
minds of
couple
their
of
own.
conversations this morning that would suggest.
So
that
you're
possibly
saying you're
some of
better
them
than
aren't.
them?
I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that I didn't.
That
even-
is
but
exactly
don't
how
go
it
there.
sounds, my friend.
No. I had a wonderful conversation with your supporter right here.
Right.
A wonderful woman, very interesting to talk to. Halfway through our conversation,
Yeah.
one of your supporters joined in our conversation,
Uh-huh.
got in my face.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Did
Okay,
they assault
she-
you? Well, I've been assaulted twice since
I
I've
know,
been here.
and that's disgusting.
Oh,
You
well
should
done.
not-
Well done. We
you
got
should not be
condemnation for
assaulted. You
assault.
should
We
not
got
be
one from
assaulted.
the opponent.
Absolutely
Good
not.
job.
You get it.
At
You
the
get
same
about.
time-
And what happens now then? How do we hold that person who assaulted me to account?
Well,
Do you
that's
not
what-
feel that he is undermining the democratic legitimacy of this entire country by
Absolutely.
assaulting a person?
Absolutely,
So
I
what
do.
do we do about it?
I think we
What do we
ask
do?
why. I think we ask the question. Firstly, I think we ask why does someone feel driven to do that? Why does someone feel strongly
Because I
enough?
was wearing a short skirt, that's why.
Victim blaming.
I'm not. Did I ask?
See? Look at this, look at this.
No, I'm.
See? Do I deserve this?
No, I don't agree. I'm not.
Is that acceptable?
I'm not at all. Well,
But do you think...
shit,
well, that's acceptable,
I
is it?
don't think
That's
that's
how
acceptable.
you
I don't
do
think,
politics,
I don't,
is
did
it?
I don't. Let me repeat. I don't think that's acceptable. I'm not blaming you as the victim. I'm not blaming any victim. What I am saying is you need to ask the question, why do people feel so driven?
I can
I'm
tell
not pointing
you.
at you.
I can tell you why. Because they're whipped up into a frenzy by lies in the media. This
Where
happens
does that sound familiar from?
because it's
Bent
real.
bananas.
It happens all the time. And yeah, sure, there are undoubtedly Daily Mail reporting about straight bananas in the EU. Yeah, that's media bullshit too.
Sure.
But there's also a lot of bullshit that's been whipped up. I mean, like, this lady doesn't know me. I'm married. I have children. I pay my taxes. I have no criminal record. And yet
Okay.
she's there hysterically trying to
no,
assault me
well,
in the street.
she's
Do you think-
verbally assaulting
do
you, which is
yeah, but
different.
she's that's only because he
Verbal
stopped
assault.
her.
Well, okay,
Only
let's
because
take
he
that
stopped
as a-
her.
let's take
But
that-
do you
let's
think
take
that
that as a
do
given.
you think that that is the product of someone who just woke up and watched one of my videos and came down and said, "Sir, I have strong principled opposition"?
No, can I be honest?
Or
I'd
someone
say-
who's been whipped up.
Can I be honest? I think that's the product of someone who's been raped, or knows someone who's been raped and doesn't think that rape jokes are funny.
Well, that's
And I
a
think
that's a
you'd
conversation
think-
that we can have. Then,
I
isn't
think
it?
you'd think they were a lot less funny if your wife had been raped. I think you'd think it was a
I don't
lot
think you should
less
make
funny.
assumptions. So
I'm
how
not
about we stop
making-
there?
Okay.
But we can discuss the ethics of jokes if you'd like. I'm more than happy to do that. Do you feel equipped for it?
I don't feel equipped, but I'll give it
Right.
a go.
Okay. Well, do you want to find one of the people that you think might be equipped for it? If one of your fellow protesters.
I just popped out to take me watching
Well,
to
you've
get
got
fixed, mate.
you've got one of their banners. So
I really,
I
I
mean,
mean,
you look
really
with them.
liked it. I really.
I'm not going to throw it away.
You're not going to
because
touch it.
well, it's not your banner, is it?
No, you're right. Touch
I've
away,
been
mate.
told that before.
Exactly.
I've been told that before. Hey, I mean, you look quite like a protester.
I am quite like a protester, but just quite.
Just quite like a protester.
Yeah.
Do you feel he schooled you on the
I don't
previous
feel
one?
schooled. I feel like I've had a conversation.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
good.
good.
You see, this is
Have
this
you
is-
learned
This
anything?
is one of those.
No.
This is
But I've
That
spent
was-
a long time being schooled, so
that
I
was-
was expecting.
that was too much. But I
sorry.
would like, and I know this is a low bar to clear, which is sad. But I would like to at least thank you for admitting that political violence is unacceptable, which I have to say is very rare from people who come out in public to challenge conservative and right-wing politicians. It's very unusual to get them to admit that no, you shouldn't be able to punch
is an
people.
unacceptable method of any form of discourse or discussion. There is no advance to be made for violence. In fact, violence is exactly the reason that the nation is where it is now. Violence stretching back centuries is
and,
what's brought us
and
from
what-
there
But you
to
are
here.
why do
actually
you think
standing
there's-
on the side that does violence now.
I'm standing on a side, some of whom do violence, and in exactly the same way as you
and
can't
that's
blame.
okay, is
You
it?
can't blame. Let me finish the sentence. You can't blame. I can't blame every UKIP supporter for the behaviour of one UKIP supporter. In the same way, you can't blame the behaviour of one protester among.
Right,
But
right.
when,
But
when
if
it's,
you look
when
at-
it's
if you
3 and
look
4
at the-
protesters, how many until I can start blaming them?
Well, you can blame all of the individuals, 100% of them.
And you stand with them even though they're doing violence?
I stand
Like,
with
for example,
some of them.
if these chaps over here with the flags, these lovely
Yeah.
gentlemen, if they start going over and attacking them,
Yeah.
I would be talking to them and not the people
Absolutely,
protesting.
we would.
But you're not talking to your side, you're talking to me.
Absolutely.
Denouncing violence to us, but not to your own.
How do you know what I've denounced to them?
Well, go.
That's
well,
a big
have
assumption.
You? Have you denounced it?
Way ahead
How,
of you.
Have you? What
Way
did you,
ahead of
What
you.
did you say to them?
I said it's completely unacceptable. It won't achieve anything. It's personal notoriety over actual achievement. I
Oh,
get
I
that
agree with you.
entirely.
I think that's correct. Yeah,
And,
I think that's correct.
But then I think you're equally as guilty of that.
I've never attacked anyone.
Of sensationalisation for personal achievement is what I
What
was talking
personal
about.
achievement have I made?
I think the joke that's caused these ladies to be so upset, I personally think
Yeah.
was a joke. I accept the fact that it was a joke. I accept the fact that lots of people make jokes. The mistake is, I believe, the difference is, rather than the mistake is, that it doesn't feel as if there has been anywhere near enough. Actually, you know what? I'm not making a joke personally about you being raped.
Well, I wasn't making a joke about them.
I
was
don't think there's been anywhere near enough back down from that. It's been whipped up by your supporters.
No, not at all. It's been whipped up by the media.
No. It's been whipped up by your supporters as an example of free speech being taken away from people.
Well,
Which it's not. Nobody
absolutely not. Right?
Nobody
No, that's
seems
not
to
true.
accept the fact that free speech is, one, not a law in this country, and two, doesn't come without consequences. And you have the ability to have free speech.
Hang on. Right, you've got a bunch of things mixed up here. No one's saying that speech doesn't have consequences.
Okay.
What it
Well, some
shouldn't-
people are,
hang-
just so you know.
Okay, but I'm not, right? I'm saying it shouldn't have legal ramifications if it's just discourse. If
Sure.
it's incitement to violence, fine.
Yeah.
But if it's someone talking to someone else, and in this case, I wasn't even talking to Jess Phillips or these ladies.
You were
this
talking
was,
to hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, but this is the atmosphere of a comedy club. This is my channel. You have to go there. You have to find it yourself. I'm not a daytime TV presenter. I'm not broadcasting to every
Actually,
home.
can I correct you there slightly? It's not like a comedy club, because in a comedy club, if I sat there with my mobile phone filming and live streaming that comedian to people unlicensed, I would be asked to leave. Your tweet stream
yeah, but I have
is
the license
retweeted.
for the stuff that I put on my channel.
But your license is
That's
retweeted
a
by lots
distinction
of
without
people who
distinction.
follow you.
So
it's not private. A lot of it
I
is
didn't
screen
say it was
captured and
private.
shared on.
It's
You said
public.
it's like a comedy club
yeah,
where
but a
people have
comedy club
chosen
isn't
to look at
private
it.
either. That's where the public go to watch comedy.
But the public have chosen to go.
Yes,
People are
and people-
exposed to what you said via social media. They're exposed to what you
they're
said
not,
by.
though. They're not.
Well, they are, because I saw it.
Yeah, but you didn't see it on my channels.
That's
You
my
saw it
po-
from the
that's-
media.
but
You saw it from
no,
other people.
I saw it
right?
from other people.
Exactly. You
and
didn't
that's
see it
the
from
difference,
me.
isn't it? So, but that is completely different. In a comedy club,
So
I
I'm
didn't see
responsible for someone else sharing something else on social media.
No, the point
Well,
that
that's where you placed me.
the point that I'm making to you is that you used an example that your stream is private, like a comedy club, that people
I
don't
didn't say
have
private.
to. Sorry, that it's like a comedy club. It's
It
much
is.
people have to go there to see the act.
Yes.
I am
What's
trying
the
to point
difference
out to you
between
that
someone trying to gin up outrage by quoting a line in a book I've published? I mean, it's not public in the sense that you have to buy the book, but if someone takes a line out of context and puts it on the front page, like for instance, if somebody takes a joke out of context and puts it on the front page of the Metro, that person is doing the sensationalism, not us.
Yeah.
And if you
The
hear
point
about it
that I
from
was
them
trying to
and
make
not
a
from
couple of
them
times
and
I
not
tried to
from
make it.
if you're hearing about it from them and not from us, they are the ones responsible for trying to get you mad by wrenching a remark from context, knowingly
no,
robbing
no,
it of the meaning that it originally
So
had.
UKIP supporters are intentionally trying to get me mad
No,
by
no, 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 no,
wrenching.
no,
That's
the
what
po-
you
no, no,
just
no,
said.
no, no,
UKIP that are trying to put this around.
You didn't hear it
It's
from
the
a
media.
UKIP supporter. You heard
I've
it
heard
from
it.
the press.
I've heard it today.
You heard it from the press.
I've heard it
Oh, yes,
today.
because now it's a thing, and it was made a thing by the press.
So when does it stop being the press doing it and start being a thing? You draw that line
When
very
people
conveniently.
stop talking about it. That's the point.
So when it goes
okay, no,
away-
hang on. I didn't put this in front of your face. I didn't put it in Jess Phillips' face. I put it in front of the face of people who knew what my channel was about and
Yeah.
wanted to see it.
And then shared it. You
What-
did.
what
You
do you
did.
want me
And
to do
you
about
did that. No. Well,
do you want me to
know,
do about people
I don't do
sharing it?
Twitter much. Can you turn sharing ability off on your Twitter,
I don't have Twitter.
Instagram, Facebook?
I've been banned for
Probably.
years.
If you
I don't
have
know,
the
but-
ability to turn off the sharing on all of your social media, would you do it?
No, why would I?
Well, because then people wouldn't be able to share it out of context.
That's fine.
That's why you would do it.
They're allowed
If
to
you're-
share things, but ask yourself.
Again,
Listen,
y-
you're not
but- so you've
you're
done-
not
you've
engaging with
avoided-
the substance of what we're saying, right? There is a particular time in a particular place. It's not daytime TV. It's something you have to navigate to yourself to find. And people have been taking that as if this is somehow some sort of political broadcast,
Yeah, I think
as if this is a reasonable thing to take out of the context
it's
of
Who are
being
the-
a joke.
who are the
it's as though-
people?
Let me give.
I
let
can
me-
tell you, Mark
let-
DiStefano of BuzzFeed was the one who started it, and then every other
So
rag in the country.
before Marcus, nobody retweeted a tweet, reshared a video.
Let-
It
Nobody
doesn't
did
matter.
let me-
No, that's an unreasonable
let me-
standard.
that
That's
is-
an unreasonable standard.
Trying to
By that-
understand
by-
what
no,
he's,
by- by
what
that
he's
logic,
getting at.
anyone-
Let me
sorry.
give another example, right? Let's say that you're going to listen to Frankie Boyle, right, at night, and one day Frankie Boyle decides to run for office. He wants to run for Labour because he hates the Tories, all the rest of it. Not an inconceivable scenario, right? But then people take things that Frankie Boyle said in a book or on Twitter or in a nightclub 2 years ago and present them on breakfast television as something that somebody standing for public office said with a straight face. You would rightly consider that to be a disingenuous, dishonest representation of what's going on. If they took a rape joke, or
Are
if
you
they took
telling
a
me or
rape-
asking me?
Well, okay. I'll rephrase it as a question. Wouldn't you rightly consider that to be an unreasonable misrepresentation of his intent if he made a joke, for instance, about women or about whatever, and it was
Frankie
presented
Boyle
on-
has made jokes about a lot of things.
Well, a
that
lot
I
of
wouldn't
much
joke
worse
about.
things than
Boyle's
that.
made a lot of jokes about a lot of things. And to
Right,
answer your
and
question,
and if it
no,
were, if it were
it's
presented
not.
as an object of moral outrage,
Absolutely.
at 9 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
would you not think something a bit off about that?
Well, not if it's morally outrageous. No.
You think
What
that would
happens
be-
next is what's important.
So you
What
don't think
happens
context
next?
matters then?
Hang on,
No,
hang on,
absolutely
What
context
happens
matters.
next? What happens next?
What happens next is what matters. What
on.
happens is the reaction, isn't it?
Okay, so
Entirely what happens next is the reaction of the person that you're talking about. If we're talking about yourself, if we're talking about Frankie Boyle, if we're talking about anyone,
But what should Frankie Boyle
happens
do in
And
that
if it's
situation?
a public
important.
figure like an MP,
He
you
has
seem to think they should have more protections, not less, than the average citizen. If
No.
he said this
Hang on.
about a random
No, no,
person,
it's-
he wouldn't
I-
be in this trouble. He's in trouble. Well, not in trouble, but it is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
furore because he said it about an MP. We can't make
And because he is a
can't
political,
make
and because you are a
strong-
Yeah, but I
political
wasn't
figure.
We
at
can't
the
make
time,
strong
so it's a-
criticisms, even up to the line of
Are
outrageous
you
jokes
actually
about
comparing a
elected
strong
politicians who have
criticism
the-
with a rape
who
joke?
are- Yes, I am. We can't make jokes about elected officials who have the power of the state behind them
I
to
personally,
keep them
I don't
safe,
think it's
who have
appropriate
the
to make a
police
rape joke
force
about
at
a
their
female
disposal.
about a female MP. I
Okay,
don't
and
think.
that's-
Thank
and
you.
that's
I
okay,
don't
so
think
don't-
that's appropriate.
and that's okay,
I don't
so
think
don't-
that should be
so-
allowed.
so don't-
okay, hang on.
So
hang
don't
on.
vote for him.
Not
then,
in,
but you
not
have
in-
to at the
again,
same
not
time.
in a public
And now,
forum.
I'm interested in that. You don't think it should be allowed?
In a public forum, I don't think it should be allowed.
Why?
Not without consequence. Actually, I should rephrase that. You can say whatever you want. We had this conversation
can't,
earlier.
apparently.
What do you
No,
want
no,
to happen
can't.
to him?
Yeah,
He
what-
may-
what do you
I don't
think
want
should happen?
anything to happen to
Well,
him.
no,
I
you
want him
just
to go
said you
about his
don't want it
daily
to happen without
business.
consequence.
Yeah, the
so
conse-
what
the-
consequence do you want for him?
The consequences should be that you should be held accountable, whether that be by public and by the furore that's created, or whether that's by some legal system that's in
Well,
place
what-
because
well,
you've made
which
a
is-
vote.
accountable for what? Telling a joke?
Again, in my opinion, it isn't a joke. It's not
Well-
something that's available.
well,
It's a joke. If you and I sit in that van driving back to wherever that van came from,
Yeah.
and you crack a joke, and I might say to you, "Carl, dude, that is close to the knuckle, man." Back that. End of. It's gone away, hasn't it? That's a joke. Freedom of speech. I get it entirely. But when you put that out into the public forum,
Okay.
you have to expect that backlash.
Okay.
Do you
so
have a list of
hang
like
on, no,
what's
no, no,
jokes
hang on,
and what's
no, no,
not
no,
jokes?
hang
So
on.
At
we
what
know.
point do you take
Sorry.
your hand out of his
Yeah,
ass?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
this
well,
is the guy that I want to talk to. He's the brains of the outfit.
I'm trying to talk stuff. So, what accountability does Frankie Boyle have for the jokes that he's told in public?
Oh, I think he is held entirely accountable. An awful lot of people don't like Frankie Boyle. He gets an awful lot of abuse on social media. If he crosses any lines legally, I'm sure he would be prosecuted.
But he's free to walk the streets. He's given platforms on TV, even though he said all of these terrible things.
Absolutely.
And you don't protest him, do you?
No, actually, no, I wouldn't. And I'll tell you another
wouldn't?
because
Right, okay.
because there's an important difference.
It's
not
okay
standing
when
for
you do
UKIP.
it.
No, it's not. It's because he's a comedian.
What do you think I do?
Well, I don't think you're a comedian. It wasn't a very fucking funny joke.
But I was making a joke, and I'm an entertainer on the internet.
It's not the same thing, is it?
It is exactly the same thing. You just
It
don't want
wasn't
it to be the
set
same
out-
thing because you want it to be a special rule for the person you like.
No, not
and
at all.
not
I don't
protection
like
for the person you don't like.
Again, you're telling me who I do and don't
Well-
like. I didn't say I don't like you. I said I don't agree with you.
Okay.
I didn't say I like Frankie Boyle
Okay, that's fair.
at all.
So, but
you know.
for some reason, I don't meet this bar that Frankie Boyle meets.
No,
and
you.
that's okay
there
for
is
Frankie
no
and not
bar.
okay for me.
There's no bar for you. I'm not comparing you to Frankie Boyle. He's really funny. I'm not comparing you
He
in
used to
any
be.
way. Yeah, you're right. He used to.
he
But
used to
I'm
be.
not comparing you to Frankie Boyle. It's not about a bar, is it? It's about a line.
Yeah, but that's your
and it's
opinion.
entirely it's my opinion, and that's why I'm staking my opinion.
yeah, but
and it would also appear to be the opinion of some people that think that it's appropriate to throw milkshakes, and people think that it's appropriate to hold placards, and
Sure.
people think that it's appropriate to share stuff on social media.
that small
it would
number of
appear to
people,
be it would appear to be appropriate to them as well.
Yeah, but it's not appropriate to a far larger number of people who have come out to hear
Well,
you speak.
actually, do you know what I reckon? I reckon if I said, well, everybody here who is here to witness this, but not actually in support of this gentleman, would you all turn around and or walk away? I reckon you'd lose about 25% of your audience at least.
Maybe.
It's not Hyde Park, is it?
I
I
don't
think
know.
we've got kind of.
Have you ever been to
supporters.
Hyde Park?
Yeah, I have.
It's not normally that busy, is it?
Oh, it used to be, is it? I've not been
No,
there for
I
2
went there.
decades.
I went
nearly.
there fairly recently. It wasn't that busy.
You sure it was nothing to do with you being there?
No, they didn't know I was going to be there.
Social media, my friend.
They didn't
Social
know-
media. A little bit of advertising. You'd have whipped up a crowd.
Yeah,
No
but I
problem
wasn't
at all.
trying to,
You know
that's
what
the
you
point.
need?
But
You need to
anyway.
surround yourself by good people that are capable
You know,
of creating a
I think
crowd.
I might have managed that already. But,
Yeah, maybe.
But seriously, I think that what you're doing is just drawing a distinction based on your own opinion that isn't actually anything based in principle. For example, you saying, well, I don't consider you funny, therefore I consider Frankie Boyle a comedian, but not you.
No. I
That's-
consider him a comedian because that's what it says in his tax return. I consider
What do you
your
think it
joke
says
not
on my
funny.
tax return?
It doesn't say comedian.
How do you know?
But, okay. Does it say comedian
Well,
on your tax return?
it says YouTuber.
That does not say comedian. So
Yeah,
so
but what's a
I now
YouTuber?
do
Define
know.
a YouTuber.
That's a pointless question. There
No,
is
it's
no
not.
definition. A YouTuber is someone
There
who
isn't-
uploads videos to YouTube.
Exactly, but there's a
Doesn't make him a
there is-
comedian.
No, there are implicit assumptions there. It's an entertainment economy. It's an attention economy.
Sure.
You have to be entertaining. You have to be engaging.
But it doesn't
so
make you a
it's really
comedian.
really, it's not that much different. There's no sacred connotations to the term comedian.
Do you know maybe there
a
are some
comedian
sacred
is someone that
connotations
someone
towards the word
identifies
rape?
themselves. Hmm?
Maybe there are some sacred connotations towards the word rape,
I don't agree. I don't think there are any sacred connotations towards any words.
specifically aimed at one specific person as opposed to generic, as opposed to just a general sweeping statement. You would defend the use of a rape joke combined with one individual's name over a generic. It's a joke about rape.
You. All right. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk in a second if you want, sir. We'll talk in a second if you want.
I think he would dare do it, and I applaud him for doing so. I don't think he's got
down,
any lack of
calm
bollocks.
down.
I think he's got a lack of morals when it comes
Yeah,
to
but
rape
that's
jokes.
the point,
And
isn't it?
again,
that's
you know,
the point. That's exactly where we are. So the thing is, you're acting as if I went up to Jess Phillips' face and said this.
no,
I didn't.
No, I'm not. Again, you're making another
Okay, sorry,
assumption.
that gentleman
what,
over there,
What
then.
I'm acting as if
Go on, yeah.
is if you intentionally released something out into the wild, if
Yes.
you will.
Completely intentionally correct.
And I think that it was an inappropriate thing to release into the wild. I think that what happened next was that a group of people on one side of an argument took that and spun it against you and turned it into milkshake flinging. And I think a group of people that stand on the other side with you turned that into an argument about free speech. I think one half of that argument has completely deflected from the fact that what you did was made a joke about raping a specific woman.
yes. Not raping specifically, obviously. I mean, you do know the wording of the tweet. Don't you?
I understand entirely.
Yeah.
You used the word
So
not rape,
what
but
I was
we all
actually
know the
doing really,
intention.
yeah, the intention was to call Jess Phillips ugly, obviously.
Absolutely.
But I'm allowed to do that, am I not?
You're allowed to do
Yeah.
it if you choose to do it. There's
Yeah.
no law to stop
Right,
you
but-
from doing
and
it
so-
unless it causes distress, harassment, fear.
Sure, but I don't think you can say that calling someone ugly is going to cause distress, harassment.
Then why
and fear.
didn't you call her ugly?
Sorry,
Then why didn't you call her ugly?
I did
Why did you need to add the word rape?
because I knew they wouldn't be able to resist it.
So intentionally, you
Yes.
used the word rape to incite a reaction.
Yes.
Then you, my friend, got milkshake thrown at you because of your own behaviour.
Really, you think that's comparable?
You
think a
have
physical
just
assault,
said. You've just
hang on,
said.
hang
You
on.
have just said that
Hang
you
on.
used that to incite a reaction.
Yeah.
Well, now you know
But
what
the
reaction. that's-
reaction has to be modulated by the person giving it. I mean, just because you might be offended doesn't give you a right to insult me, does it?
Insult.
Assault.
No, absolutely. I agree with you.
But
Absolutely,
that's
doesn't
what's
give you a right
happened,
to
and
do
that's
it.
and you've just justified that.
No, I haven't
You just
justified it.
did.
No,
You just did.
No, I didn't.
Right.
I
But
said
the-
you
the
got the
question-
reaction
the
that you've
question,
got. I'm
though,
not justifying
The
it.
question, of course, you just did. You said then that's why it happened.
That is
But-
why it happened. That's not justifying. That's explaining it.
Okay, but the point is, why aren't you asking why I felt the need to do that?
Because to be honest, it's a rape joke. I don't care why you felt the need to do
See,
it.
isn't that interesting?
Why?
Isn't that interesting? Now, that's exactly the sort of thing I'm trying to address. It's the idea that they think I'm
No,
offended
not
by
they.
that.
Just me.
It's not just you. There are lots of other people with this opinion. You've done something to offend me, therefore You are not a legitimate political entity in this country.
No, you've done something offensive, not to offend me.
There is no such thing as objective offence. A lot of these people are not offended, so don't act like it is inherently offensive.
No, absolutely.
It's your subjective opinion.
It's a choice
but
to be offended or
I
not.
don't care if you're offended.
Sure,
That's the
your
problem
right.
that you have with me, because I'm not saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I am instead interested in tabling a discussion on certain issues. Now, these
But
people...
not rape. And rape jokes.
Rape
You
is
are-
certainly
you-
something we can talk about. Okay, how about this? In the UK, you cannot legally rape a man.
Okay,
Do you have a problem with that?
of course.
There we go. Now we can have a discussion about it.
Of course I do. I have a problem with
Right,
that.
okay, so what can we do about it? Do you think that men should have legal protection in that regard?
Absolutely. Is it in the
Great.
UKIP manifesto?
No, it's actually not, but I didn't write the manifesto. But now, do you think it's appropriate for a feminist MP to block a discussion on that kind of subject? What about male suicide, number one killer of men under 45?
Absolutely.
Why would a female MP, a feminist MP, block a debate on that in Parliament?
To be honest with you, I don't know the answer because I'm
yeah,
not
well,
aware
I do know
of
the
the
answer.
situation.
That's the thing.
So it
But
would be
that's-
unfair
but-
of you
but-
to express.
But now you understand that I am presenting principled opposition to what it is that Jess Phillips
There's
herself is
nothing
doing.
principled about a rape joke.
I didn't say the joke itself was
Oh, okay.
principled.
I misunderstood.
I said that I'm here to oppose what Jess Phillips is actively
then,
doing in Parliament.
then oppose it.
Well, I tried,
in
but
a-
do you know what happens? You get blocked. You get
By-
deplatformed. You get ignored.
Yeah,
you
the
get locked out of the conversation because they don't like you. So I had to do something.
Which platform have you been deplatformed from?
Twitter?
By Jess?
Not by Jess, but she blocked me, obviously, on Twitter.
Obviously,
So she wasn't
blocked you on
interested. Yeah, but
Twitter.
I didn't start by saying, Jess, you're a bitch. I started by saying, Jess, why are you doing this? Why are you blocking a discussion on issues that genuinely affect men and men are suffering under
Sure.
in Parliament? Why did you laugh at the idea of even talking about it?
Okay.
That's what I asked, and I got blocked. And so how long do I have to continue arguing from behind a block as to why we should have a debate on these things? People are actually suffering. Am I not entitled to
Sure.
do something offensive to get their attention?
I don't think you are entitled to do something offensive to get them, but I think you are.
So what, I should sit there politely while she laughs and makes life more difficult for
Well,
people?
you should sit there being as polite as you expect protesters against you to be, for definite.
Well, I certainly don't assault them.
No, absolutely not. But you did, however, cause distress.
Yeah,
alarm,
and they can come
fear.
over and tell me why they're distressed. They can talk to me all they want because nothing.
Sure.
No one has ever got anything on me that's not just words, but I have a lot on them that is
Sure.
actual violence done to me.
Sure.
And this is the point: it is the establishment defending itself from reasonable, principled criticism. And now we've had this discussion already. You've agreed with me completely.
Reasonable
You
criticism
have
doesn't
agreed
include
with
rape
all
jokes.
of it. Yeah, but the joke is not part of the criticism. The joke is the mechanism by which I get your attention, and you agreed with everything I said. Men should be legally allowed to be raped, as in counted as being rapeable.
Men
in the
shouldn't
law.
be allowed to be raped. It should be illegal. Let's just get that straight. Can I just
that's
have
a
the
better way of
headline, please?
phrasing
Carl
that, yeah.
clearly said that men should be allowed to be raped, and that needs to be tomorrow's headline.
Looking forward to the next BuzzFeed headline.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you're right.
I'm writing it with my third hand in my pocket as
It-
we speak.
You said it far better than I can. It should be illegal that it should be made illegal to rape a man.
Do you want me to say it?
Yes.
It should be illegal to rape a man.
Thank you. You also. Hang on a sec, sir.
Yeah, I know you.
So we actually do have a chap who's
Yeah,
been
I
a
know
victim of
him.
this problem. And my uncle committed suicide. I want an investigation into why men are killing themselves at such high rates.
Okay.
I'm sure you agree with that too, don't you, sir?
Of course I do. And
So-
how much of your platform are you using for those two subjects?
All of it. Well, not all of it, but I've mentioned this many times. I've done many videos about these subjects. I
Okay.
get called a men's rights activist.
Sure.
When
no,
I
absolutely.
talk about these things.
I didn't until
Right?
the subject was brought up. I didn't hear one word about that today.
Well, no,
Will you
because
get into that later?
We're getting to it right now.
It's-
And
it's-
this is the
it's-
point. This is the point. You sit there and think, well, this
I didn't
was
sit anywhere and
offensive.
think anything.
Well, this was offensive, therefore, it can't possibly be talked about. But at the end of the day, I've got you to agree to everything that I sincerely believe in front of a large
No, you
crowd of
definitely
people.
haven't got
You-
me to
you
agree to
just
that.
did. You
I
said
agreed.
it for me. You said it for
I
me.
agreed to several points that you made
Yeah, but they're
that
the ones I
are
want.
general points that
Yes.
any person would agree to.
No, Jess
I have
Phillips does not agree to it.
Very.
Jess Phillips,
No.
she went out of her way to block this.
Jess Phillips did not go out of her way
Yes,
to block an
she
introduction
did. She
of
absolutely
legislation.
did. She absolutely did, sir.
Jess Phillips.
Yes. She was on the parliamentary committee where Philip Davies was tabling the motion, and she laughed at him. And she said, "You'll get your debate when I get 50% representation of women in Parliament." What an unbelievable standard for her to put forward to Philip Davies. He's not in charge of how many women are put in
No,
Parliament.
absolutely, and that's an argument that's well versed amongst the people sitting
Of course
here.
it is.
Because I've heard that again
So
and again.
why would she use that? Why would she use that?
Why was she even there then? Why was she given the opportunity to block that? She's the person. She's the most powerful person in our Parliament
I didn't say
regarding
she was
male
the most
rape.
powerful person.
Well, hang on. So how has she managed to stop
She
anything?
just happened to be on the committee.
Sure, and her on the committee made the change.
Yes.
Just her.
No, obviously not just her.
Absolutely.
Have you read her book?
What about? No, I have not.
I've read her book. In her book, she describes a sisterhood, a feminist sisterhood within Parliament that operate in each other's feminist interests. And they are the ones who got that blocked with her.
I don't believe that.
I don't care if you don't believe it. I know it. You don't know anything about what you're talking about here. You haven't seen the video. You haven't read her books. You haven't listened to Philip Davies talking about it.
I will go today.
Yeah, but the thing is, I have, and I know this is true.
So you are telling me as a statement of fact that a sisterhood in Parliament,
according to Jess Phillips, in her words, quote, sisterhood.
Hang on. Now, there's a massive difference here that we're skipping slightly over.
Go ahead.
She said it. Don't make it true. No more than it makes it true if you say it.
So Jess Phillips is a liar.
I didn't say that either, did I?
Well, that's
I'm
what the
asking
implication
the
is,
question.
isn't it?
You're accepting what she said
Yes.
as fact. Because not because it suits your rhetoric, because you wouldn't believe her if she said many other things.
No, I think that that's something that she's saying that is true. I don't see any reason to think that she's a liar in that regard.
Do you think...
We seem to even know the names of them, people like Yvette Cooper. We actually seem to know who these people are. They sit on the bench together. You see them clustered around each other.
Well, of course they do.
Then we agree that it exists.
No, of course they sit together. That doesn't mean it exists. They sit together and cluster around.
She says it does. I'm not going to doubt her on that. I don't see why
Again,
she'd lie.
it's unfair of you to put me on a spot, given
Well, I'm sorry that you don't have this information.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry that that's the case, but I do. This is what I do. I must have done about 6 or 7 videos on this.
Yeah.
Like, this is something I've had to look into in depth. I read her book, for example.
Yeah.
This is genuinely something that's happening, and she is actually going out of her way, using her executive power as an MP to block debates on real issues that are really affecting men in this country. That has to stop.
I agree with you entirely.
You agree
if
with me.
it's fact, that needs to be stopped. And what I don't understand is how a minority in the House has such an effect.
I agree it's a complex system, and I don't want to have to go through explaining it right now because you probably wouldn't believe me anyway.
I have no reason to believe or disbelieve you, but I will do my own research.
But no, please do, because you can go, just look on my channel. Just search for Philip Davies on my channel.
I might look elsewhere first, but I'll come to you later on.
Well, I've gone through and collated all the information for you. I put
all
sources.
of the information, or all of the relevant information, because you would be
what
unique.
I think is relevant.
yeah. But relevant to your argument as opposed to relevant. Okay.
Yeah.
So there needs
why,
to be
why would I include things I don't think are relevant to my argument?
Well, because that would lead to the truth.
What?
If you don't,
That's
if you only, if you live in a vacuum,
default.
no. If you only live in a vacuum, if you only include in your vacuum things that suit your argument.
No,
that
I include things that I think are true about the situation itself.
Okay, yeah, no, I accept that as a change from that's.
Yeah, obviously,
jumping on your words rather than your inference.
Yeah, I'm not going to start bringing in irrelevant information, but I'm not going to leave anything out either. And you can, I list all the sources that I'm using.
You're not going to leave out anything. Full stop, or you're not going to leave out anything that's not relevant in your opinion.
Anything that is relevant to the conversation at hand, I'm obviously going to include.
Yeah.
Even if it's against me, But I mean, I don't think I'd be.
Have
trying
you got
to
an example of that?
Well, sure. I mean. Oh God! Now there are loads of times.
Yeah, you put me on the spot a couple of times. It's fair.
That is fair. Okay, so there have been for example, I did a video about the gender pay gap, and I made a bad job of it. It's one of those times where I'd been lazy, and I got called up on it by another YouTuber. So what I did is put you can put a mask over the video in YouTube, and I said, right, I don't stand by this video anymore. I've left a link to the video debunking the one I'd done in the description, so you can go and look at that instead. That's the best example I can think of off the top of my head. And that was a fair cop. I'd been lazy on that particular regard. In fact, it was a good way of giving me a kick up the rear and getting me in line. Lazy. Exactly. It hasn't happened again. Because I haven't needed to make it happen again. But that's the point.
Or maybe because other people got lazy.
No, I think that they really. I think they hate me enough to actually go and fact check everything I do.
Hate's a horrible word.
Well, that's true though. I think they do. But
you think?
Yeah, no, I think they do. But that's okay because that keeps me on the straight and narrow. So that's fine. But Should we call an end to the conversation next? We've been going on for a while.
Interesting conversation.
But I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Cheers.
I would listen to more of that. You should take him with you. Take him to Plymouth.
I really enjoyed that.
Take it up. Do you want to go to Plymouth?
Is it something specific about me that you'd like to talk about?
No, just about what UKIP might do for the veterans.
Oh, please, sir, yes. Right. So, I'm glad that you're here, but I have to say, I'm not the expert on what UKIP's going to do for veterans. However, I come from a military family, and so I'm very sympathetic to the cause,
Right.
even if I personally am not involved in it. But what's your question, please, sir?
Right. I'm a veteran who served this country with grace and dignity for 23 years. I am now awaiting to be persecuted by the Northern Ireland Police Service for my actions in Northern Ireland under the Crown jurisdiction. I'm not alone.
A little bit closer up. Sorry.
I'm not alone in this. There's hundreds of others. There's another guy in Cornwall called Dennis Hutchins, who's 74, dying of bowel cancer. He has been charged and will be appearing in court in Northern Ireland for something that happened, which he was exonerated for 3 times.
Well, if he's already been exonerated for something once, why does he have to face the charge again? If he's
Because
been
they've
exonerated twice and then 3 times, this sounds like a farce. It sounds politically motivated.
It is. It is. It was all motivated by the Good Friday Agreement with Tony Blair and been carried on by the current government. So, hence, veterans have now started to protest big
Right.
time. 12th of April last month,
Mhm.
33,000 turned up in London on motorcycles. How much was on the news? Not a lot.
I didn't even hear about it until I learned that Jared Batten had gone down to speak there. And it was rather frustrating because I would have gone down there myself had I known. As I said, I'm from a military background. I'm eminently sympathetic to this kind of thing. There's no doubting that the current Conservative government does not like the forces.
That's plain.
And now I don't need to tell you that, of course. The problem that we have is that the Labour government, that is inevitable, in my opinion, at this point, hates them even more.
Is it surprising when they've got who's in charge?
Yes, exactly. Communists and communist sympathisers. I don't know whether you guys all saw, but John McDonnell was at a May Day celebration in Trafalgar Square. On top of the statue, not on top of the statue, but on the plinth of the statue, with pictures of Mao, Lenin, and Stalin.
Seen it.
And nice big hammers and sickles. Jeremy Corbyn has said that he wouldn't use our nuclear deterrent. He would like to shrink the armed forces, and he would give away Gibraltar and the Falklands. So, as you can imagine, I've kind of find myself coming around to a sort of Winston Churchill view of the armed forces, that they're essential to our country and we need to keep them strong and healthy and patriotic.
Well, Saturday just gone, there was a little rugby match played between the Army and the Navy at Twickenham. Maximum capacity at Twickenham. The actual crowd is bigger than the British Army is today.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
Because they're having trouble recruiting these days, aren't they?
Are you surprised when soldiers are being chased?
No, I'm not.
They're also now looking at persecuting soldiers who served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and also Kosovo and Bosnia.
I'm not surprised that people are reluctant to serve if that's the case. And I think that there's a general... I think the kind of people who tend to go into the armed forces are people with a kind of streak of patriotism in them anyway. People who actually think that Britain is a good thing, a good idea, it's something not to apologise for, and it's something that we can continually make better. And that's, frankly, why they join. That is not the sort of spirit of the nation at this point, is it?
It's not.
It's the opposite, in my opinion. I think that I'm tired of apologising for being British. I think that being British is a good thing. And I'm never going to say the British Empire is something that needs to be condemned.
We should never
Ever.
apologise for what we've done in the
No,
past.
not
Never.
once. Not once.
We should never apologise for that. Union flag should fly proudly in every city, every town in this country. But we are not allowed to do it.
Yep.
Because current government refused to let that happen.
Yep.
I fly my flag on my car. I
Good.
fly the soldier flag on my bike. Outside my house, I've got a sign daring any Labour canvasser to knock on it.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it, really? Because Labour really used to actually care about this country. If you go back to, like, Tony Benn, you know, and I hate to have to keep going back to him, but that man, well, you know, you don't have to agree with his politics, but he came from a position that he thought Britain was a good thing.
Yeah.
He thought the people of Britain were good, and he thought the country was a good thing, and he thought that he could make things better. The current Labour Party is coming from the opposite position. And literally, as John McDonnell said, Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II in John McDonnell's estimation.
Really?
Yeah, unironically, I'm not kidding. That is honestly what he said. He is, and they come from the position where they think that Britain is an evil empire that needs to be stopped.
Well, if
And
we
I
didn't
don't
have
agree.
Winston Churchill, we would have been speaking German, and half of us
Exactly.
would have been sent to a little place in Auschwitz.
Exactly. It's absolutely unconscionable. But the whole point of attacking him, though, is because it's attacking the kind of narrative that underpins the British Empire, the British identity, and the Empire's part of it, Winston Churchill's part of it, and all of the sort of other events in our country's history that led us to this point. They're all part of it, and they're trying to chip these away to make people kind of hate this country, to make you less patriotic and less concerned about what happens to this nation, and so obviously be absorbed into the EU conglomerate.
Well, there's another little incident that's just happened. Johnny Mercer's suddenly come forward and said he's not supporting anything from the government. Unfortunately, there's a lot of veterans, which I'm on a few sites, and we're all a bit sceptical about that fact, because has he been pushed forward by Theresa May, hoping to shut us up so we go away? It's not happening.
Good.
It's not happening.
Good.
There's marches on the 18th in Manchester, Bristol, Plymouth, London.
Excellent.
Over 1,000 million, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's a really good turnout, and assuming I'm free, I'll try and go to one.
Go to the one in Bristol.
Wow, I'll get attacked. I was attacked by Antifa last time I was in Bristol, but I guess if there are a lot of veterans around, I'll probably be safe.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. Should we try and can we set the? Is there any chance we can set the gazebo up, or should we just get rained on? In a minute, we'll go afterwards for a few beers. Should we? I'd really like to talk to one of our lovely feminists over there. Do you reckon it's safe for me to just wander over and ask them a question?
Sounds like violence to me.
Well, would you like to come with me?
Asking fact-based questions. I mean, we'll go together.
We'll go and ask them politely. If you could make a space so John can just turn the camera and film. Yeah. Well, we're just asking for a dialogue.
See, we go into the lion's den, you know. No one else dares to tread.
Asking yourself. They're not my sisters.
No, I appreciate that, but they might prefer if it wasn't me approaching them.
I don't think they mind.
Four rapists.
No dialogue whatsoever. So, did you learn this from the Daily Mail? That's a frustrating sign, isn't it? Why don't you tell me about why you're frustrated?
I have no interest in talking to you. No interest whatsoever.
You seem to be sending me a message.
And an idiot. For you. Everyone here to say to fuck off collectively.
Okay, so they don't seem to be there. You seem to be supporting me. So if everyone is on my side, not your side, why don't we have a chat? Yeah, really. And I am a dickhead as well, yeah. I'm happy to own it. So
why are you here? Have you not had enough time over there?
I just wanted to talk to you. You seem to want my attention. So
I don't want your attention. I want these people's attention.
Okay, but you can have that by talking to me. You're getting it right now by talking to me.
You're the one who's here. I didn't come to you.
No, I did.
See you later.
Okay,
Have a nice evening.
Is there any chance that we could talk about your science? No? Can I ask what?
Antonia's European.
I'm sorry?
Antonina is from Europe.
Okay. Great.
She just called her Antonio.
Did they misgender you?
No, you're Europe.
Yeah, sorry. We'll talk short. I don't mean to lose you there. They'll probably want to in a minute. So, you're from Europe? How do you feel about Brexit? Do you not believe that nations should have their own self-determination? You think that Jean-Claude Juncker's the man for the job?
Hello.
Jean-Claude Juncker, man for the job, yeah? What about Guy Verhofstadt? Have you seen his imperialisations in Africa? He's been talking about an African union with Europe. Is that a good idea? Good idea. Good talk. Thanks. Right, so, excuse me, can I talk to you on the phone?
Depends what I'll see you later.
I'd like to know why you think that, why you come here and put the sign up.
Yeah, do put the sign up.
Yeah.
Can I
They
ask
won't hear you,
one?
otherwise, sorry.
They won't hear me.
Anybody around
I
here?
thought we were having a private conversation.
Well, we're being a little difficult when you're in front of
Real
everybody.
difficult. If you wish to talk privately, I will. Do I have a cup of coffee with you?
I can. I'm more than
But
happy
I'm
to
not
do
going to do it with
that. Oh, that's fine. I'm more
your,
than happy to do that.
what should we call them? Entourage. Entourage is a good word. Entourage.
I'll try to help. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. We'll arrange it afterwards. Are there any other protesters, or is it just you four?
It's not quantity, it's quality.
I'm not trying to disparage you. I'm actually looking to have a dialogue with someone. I want you to explain to me why I'm wrong. And then I'm
Why
like,
you're wrong to threaten to rape Jessica?
I never threatened to rape anyone. Yeah, but I didn't. Otherwise the police would arrest me. And I haven't been arrested, I haven't got a criminal record. So, you seem to have some fake news. Yeah, but they haven't contacted me, so I think that they're just mollifying Jess on that one. But
You can think what you want, there is no crime in thinking what you want. What
Yeah.
you say is entirely different.
right, so you're not for free speech.
Sorry?
You're not for free speech.
Not if it incites hatred, misogyny and sexual violence.
And who gets to decide what misogyny is? Who will be the censor? I thought so, thank you. So no other feminist protesters?
We're not feminists, we're women.
I'm sorry?
We're not feminists, we're women.
Oh, right, okay. No other women who are opposed to me? I'd love to talk to someone and just literally have a dialogue so we can explain and understand each other. Sorry, I didn't. Okay, sorry? Oh, well, where are we? Okay, well,
Go and talk to other people out there.
okay, yeah. So, well, would you like to talk?
No, not to you.
No? Oh, right. That's how dialogue works. It's with other people. It's not worth talking to people.
I think you're just intimidating these young ladies.
Thank you.
That's what I think
Sorry,
you're doing.
How am I intimidating?
Why are you here?
To talk to people.
Yeah, but you've got an agenda. And you were
Yeah, my agenda is to talk
why
politics.
don't you go and deal with your agenda? These ladies here have got a valid point, haven't
I
they?
don't see what's wrong with coming up and asking about my science. I mean, they haven't run away or anything. I don't think they are. I mean, honestly, I think you're giving them too little credit.
Well, I just spoke to one of your representatives, and you categorise these young ladies as far left.
I don't know whether they're far left or
Well,
not.
the guy here who's holding your pamphlets categorise these ladies who are not far left.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know the politics yet because they won't talk to me. I'd love to explore it.
Well, you need to talk to your representatives.
Well, yes, I don't have any representatives to speak. But,
You
okay,
have quite a few people around.
I have supporters, yeah. I have supporters. But anyway, I've been informed that we're intimidating the ladies.
Debate is fine.
Yes, debate is a form of violence. How dare we?
I'm sorry, I keep getting it.
Right, where was that, the very polite gentleman who I asked to wait? Ah, yes. Can we have the...
What it?
It's alright, I'm here.
What it?
Hang on a sec,
No one was asking.
Don't put it quite up to your mouth if you just... A little bit away.
What it?
Maybe we should stand a little bit side on so the camera can see your face.
Got it.
So what is it you'd like to say, sir?
Well, I don't know if anyone here has actually met a real male rape victim. Because I am a real rape victim. 1980, I was brutally attacked and I was stabbed by used needles, and then I was sexually assaulted. And through that attack, I became infected by HIV, hepatitis B, and also chlamydia. That was all on the one go. When I got told I had this virus, they didn't know exactly what it was. I was told I had a tropical blood disease and I had 2 years to live. 40 years nearly on, I am still here. But it absolutely makes me ashamed that in politics, HIV has been disregarded, the funding has been slashed, the budget has been slashed, although there is still a rise in sexually transmitted diseases right throughout the UK and throughout the world. But it also makes me angry when I hear about victims of rape within the government. 2 years ago, I challenged the bishop here in Truro Cathedral, and I asked to put a sexual health stand up inside the cathedral. And it was a challenge for him to take on. I got the permission to put a full sexual health stand up in that cathedral with my life story portrayed over. And what I said to the bishop when he questioned why I wanted to do it was, well, I'm sick and tired of hearing about young choir boys being raped within the churches. Rape does go on. It is not a silent... victims are not heard. In 1980, I was so scared to go to the police about the sexual assault I had. Unfortunately for me, at that time of year, I had just lost both my parents to cancer. I am now struggling with cancer myself. It makes me angry that things like LGBT rights are not recognised within government parties. There's some members of parliament are still ignorant to LGBT rights. There's still local councillors ignorant to HIV rights and LGBT rights. So much for freedom, so much for sexual harassment being abolished. It is not abolished. There's not a day goes by but I get abused for being open about my HIV. There's not a day goes by I get abused for being a gay man. But also a gay man is proud to say I am also a gay Christian. My second challenge was also 2 years ago, the 1st of December. It's the only day HIV gets mentioned in the politics. I know the politicians wear a red ribbon, but they don't understand what the red ribbon means. Celebrities wear red ribbons, just for show, and it makes me angry that this still happens in this day and age. HIV has been around a lot longer than 1980. HIV has been undetected in lots of countries, and HIV, as far as I'm aware, it was first discovered in the 50s. There is just an abolition of
Well, thank you. Thank you for speaking. I really appreciate it. I think we're going to have to take... Yeah, I actually have an interview with BBC Radio 4 that I have to go for probably about half an hour.
I'd like to
and
ask,
it's starting to rain.
I'd like to ask you, as a celebrity, what is your opinion on my issues? Also a supporter of UKIP.
I honestly think that the law needs to be changed that men can be the victim of rape. Because it doesn't recognise it at the moment, and it's something that we really have to change. But I hate to say this, but I think we're going to have to find some cover, because I think the weather's turned against us.
Yeah, well, as I say, I'm not ashamed of what I've got. I'm not ashamed of who I am. And I will use my voice to fight for anybody in the same issues as me. And it's about time the government took notice of a genuine person's voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm not too proud to hold your brolly. Well, I'll while you're figuring out how to use a microphone, I'll just say, aside from his, needless provocation and attention seeking, there are people who could be helped and about whom Jess Phillips was ignorant, scoffing at things that affect men. And him, not you.
Oh no, me, not you.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I was about to compliment you. There's scoffing at men's issues. Well, the kinds of people that she's talking about are there, and it's not. He's the way you hear about it, but he's the person that could be helped.
Yeah.
If female Labour MPs are a little bit more reluctant to scoff over things that affect half a country.
And honestly, I really didn't want to have to be the one who brought this to your attention in this way. I mean, Philip Davies was doing as good a job as it was possible for him to do. He was just finding himself in a position where his hands were tied by Jess Phillips and her cadre of feminists in Parliament. Sometimes it takes a person like me to kind of break that barrier.
Literally the worst thing I can think of, being tied up by Jess Phillips.
Well, yeah. Look, I'm actually not here to insult her today.
His hands were tied by Jess Phillips. I just felt a shudder go down my. It might just be the rain, but I felt a cold finger down my spine.
But yes, so the point is we can't raise these issues because there are certain people who are trying to block them, and unfortunately sometimes you have to be offensive to get these things on the table in the first place. And that's the reason that this whole furor has been going on. But right, Milo, would you mind talking to people for about 20 minutes while I speak to the BBC and get absolutely defamed again?
I'm not very good with a crowd.
Oh. You're not very good at lying. That's what you're
not. I'm not. I get caught out every time.
I'll leave you to it.
All right,
Thanks.
fine. Why don't we have a conversation with someone new? He's good, isn't he? Isn't he good? I thought it was just like mentally unhinged people like me who would throw themselves out in public and say ridiculous things. But isn't he great? And he's just like a normal, reasonable person with a wife and kids.
I don't know what time that is.
All right, who wants to come and talk to me? You don't have to be hostile. You can be nice if you want, as long as you're not fawning. All right, come on. All right, come and stand here and face them.
So what I've been talking to people regularly about in terms of,
You can come under, it's all right.
Yeah, thank you. What I've been talking about with people in the general issues in the country, I see it in a lot of places, not too much in Cornwall because of tourism, but the degradation of the high street seems to be a big problem. You know, you can walk down any high street, see a lot of shops shut, and it's just, individual businesses versus big businesses. And you being a libertarian, I was going to ask you, what do you think about how to deal with issues of global corporations versus protectionism and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the conversation, I suppose I sounded like a sort of classical free market libertarian Republican, and on the whole, that's true.
But what would you say to deal with issues of international business dealing with internal business?
I think it's an inevitability that the character of cities changes as businesses, as business in general matures, as markets go global. I would suggest this. It might be sad seeing local mom and pop and one-off stores close, but the overall improvement in your quality of life that is brought by big international stores is quite significant. And you may not be able to get, like artisanal greetings cards, but you will probably have more choice and probably at a lower price, even if the stores are sort of faceless, nameless conglomerates. They're not full of character, and there's no point pretending that they are. They're not, unique, and they're not local. They're not, they're not supporting a local family, but they are probably supporting a lot more local jobs than the previous store was, with owners who worked, morning till night, 7 days a week. So it's a sort of regrettable inevitability, and I think it's, on the whole, probably a losing battle trying to fight it.
Oh, definitely, but do you think there's definitely a social or cultural value to the high street and individual business?
Yeah, of course, and that's the thing you have to fight tooth and nail to try to hold on to. But I don't really think you can do it in retail. I think you should do it with the church and do it with school and do it with local organizations. I don't think that you can wander in and artificially prop up stores over here that just aren't making any money. Yeah. What you can perhaps do instead, if you're in local government, is make sure people congregate for other things like concerts or plays or something like that, like divert a bit of money that was going to go into, chasing people down for not paying their council tax into making the school play, better or whatever it is, stuff that everybody can show up to and not have to pay for, so that you still get a sense of community without having to kind of artificially prop up things that just are not working anymore.
I definitely agree more with incentivizing than outright breaking in.
Right, laws. I mean, you can give people tax breaks for doing things that help the local community. Like, you should give people tax breaks if they stay married and have kids. Of course you should.
Yeah, I believe we should incentivize socially and culturally for people's values and what they do in their life, like marriage, for example, and having children.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to lay down the law to anybody about how they live, but one thing you can and should do is provide heavy and significant incentives for people doing things that make everybody's life better and make stronger societies. Yeah. Right. I mean, if you're a young couple and you're not earning very much and you have 2 babies, you should probably be taken out of tax entirely for a while. I mean, it's not like the government spends it on anything good anyway. Like what services are they providing you? With this enormous slice of your just take these young couples out of tax for a few years. That's the kind of thing that the government could and should be doing to make people's lives better, I think. I'm not standing, but that's what I would do. That's what I would
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you very much. There you go. I kind of want to crash his BBC interview. Oh, I wanted to get a picture with the hot one, the little Italian one. No, because we're not feminists. I'm like, you could have fooled me, except the one on the end who's been roped into it by her friends. You can tell, can't you? Because she doesn't really have anything to say and she's not really sure what to do. She's like the token hottie in the feminist protest. There's always one who's kind of like, what are you doing there? You've obviously got a boyfriend. Like, what on earth do you need feminism for? No, so I want a picture with her because she's got the Milo sign. No, it's debates harassment. We can't do it. Anybody else would like the floor for a bit? Yes, come and say hello.
Hello.
Hello. You've got very good taste in sunglasses.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, anyway. So you live in the
I'm
States.
sorry, I've stolen his style today.
Yes.
I confess. I saw what he was wearing, and I just had to go home and change.
Living in the States.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot to be jealous of over there from here. Amendments 1 and 2. Now, the town that I live in.
Pro-gun, huh?
I am pro-gun.
You're gonna lose some of the ladies.
I think all of them. Well, the town I live in, there's a huge problem with stabbings and drugs and stuff.
That's why you're pro-gun, isn't it?
That is why I'm pro-gun. Like, well, what would your take be on
Who's
that?
doing the stabbings?
Bad people.
Right. And why? Is it? I mean, because in America, gun crime is predominantly a black-on-black crime, so it's something that you fix with.
Here, so.
Right. So you fix it with education,
Yeah.
So is it within the community or is it outside?
It's a bit of both. We're getting people coming down from up north, basically. Drug-related issues more than anything else.
You take lots of drugs down in Cornwall.
There's a
you
hell of a
look
lot of
like
drugs.
you take drugs now and again. What's your drug of choice? No, I'm just kidding. It's on
Alcohol,
camera.
which
Don't
is
do it,
legal.
Don't do it. Everything that's legal and nothing that is not.
Exactly.
Okay. No, I just mean it looks like he knows how to have a good time. All right. I suppose when you live a little more rurally, it's sort of like if you're not shooting up or having sex, it can be difficult to find things to do. I grew up in the countryside, so I remember. I mean, look, there's a very simple answer to all of this, which is people don't rob houses as much when they know that there are laws that say you can shoot intruders,
Yeah, absolutely.
and this is, where I live in New Jersey now, there are lots of burglaries, and where I used to live in Florida, there are not lots of burglaries, and there are not lots of burglaries in Florida because there's a stand your ground law, which says if somebody invades your house and you have a realistic, if you have a sincere fear for your life, you can shoot them. So this seems to me like an entirely sensible thing to do on your own. A sensible rule to have on your own property. If you own a house and somebody comes in without your permission trying to rob you or hurt your kids, you should be able to shoot them.
Absolutely.
And you should be able to have a gun to do that. But again, this is not a very popular point of view in Britain. I mean, there's very. In Britain, people have guns when they live in the countryside, but typically not in the cities.
Yeah.
And so people in the cities don't really, have much of a gun culture or understand it very much. But in America, pretty much everybody has guns, and you have to deal with the world that you have. And the world that you have is that there are lots of unlicensed firearms everywhere, and the best way to keep yourself safe is to have one, is to have a licensed one. So I'm very much in favor of that. Maybe I've been radicalized by America, I don't know.
No, that's good.
What are your voting priorities? What are the 3 things you care about? Legalization. No, I'm kidding. It's the fade and the ponytail,
Yeah, I'm a barber, so that's why.
You are?
I am,
okay. Well, maybe that's it, and not drugs. What do you think? Am I doing okay? Is it all right tonight?
I tell you, it's lovely, but I could do a few extra bits here and there.
Really? Do I need? What would you change about my hair?
Well, number one, I'd definitely give you a fade. I love that you've gone blonde again. I'm a massive fan of that. I mean, dark was nice, but blonde is better.
It is good. So do you think I should go a bit shorter on the sides?
If you could, yeah.
Fine.
That'd
All
be
right. Well,
much
maybe
better.
afterwards. Maybe after a few drinks in Weatherspoons, we can do that. Fine. Well, lovely. Thank you. What were your 3 priorities?
Home protection. That's
Yes.
one of my biggest ones. Free speech.
Yes.
So without that, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Third one, well, just smaller government. Anyone that will give me a small government.
Well, that's
is gonna be
nobody
fine
in
with
Europe.
No, I know.
Nobody in Europe. Have you been banned from anything online?
A
What
couple of
social
things
networks have
here
you been
and
banned from?
Only Twitter.
Only Twitter.
for a
Well,
while.
everyone's been banned from Twitter. I mean, I was asking something impressive.
No, unfortunately.
Okay. No, I thought everyone had been banned from Twitter. Home protection, free speech. What was the other one? Small government.
Small government. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're an American libertarian. You're
Yeah.
never going to find a party here for you.
One day I'll have to move to Texas. There's no getting around it.
You would. You could. You would. I mean, you look like you could pass in Texas already. So yeah, you'll be
crossed.
you'll be fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for saying hello. I don't have a hand for you, but you can shake my little. You can shake my fist. Yeah. Come and say hello.
Ahoy there. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you?
I'd shake your hand.
More fashionable eyewear. Excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you? This is a really fun event, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, I'm having fun.
Sort of bleak, wet, and miserable, if you ask me.
Well,
Right, look, I'm just joking. We're having a really good time.
We're having fun, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
I want to
I
ask
really want a photo
something,
with her, but I think they're
yes,
going home.
Same. Oh, that's a shame.
Oh,
I
never
know,
mind.
I
Come on,
wanted
carry
a
on,
selfie as well.
carry
Oh
on.
well. I want to ask something that, frankly, so far no one has a solution to, and I mean no one. So, automation is a thing. That's a given. And we're getting to a point where, give it a couple of decades, all of these simple and manual repetitive jobs are going to be taken over by machines. Now, here's a statistic which blew my mind when I learned about this. 10% of people have an IQ of less than 83. 15% of people have an IQ of less than 85. Now, at the moment, in terms of the economy, in terms of unemployment, that's not an issue, because the type of jobs that people who are that low in the IQ distribution are capable of doing, they exist now. You know, we have packing jobs in warehouses, we have simple production line factory jobs and that kind of thing. Now, give it a couple of decades, or even less, who knows? You know, we should see the robots running Amazon warehouses in America these days.
It's not just manual jobs. I mean, there'll be people here who remember travel agents on the high street. You know, like, I mean, it's not a thing anymore. And doctors and lawyers will go the same way in the next decade. It isn't just manual jobs; it's everybody. I mean, the only two solutions are you engorge the state to give people fake jobs that are not economically productive, but give them some sense of purpose, so they're a bit happier, or you put people on welfare. I mean, these are the only two options. I mean, and
let's imagine if we had universal basic income. I know it's what's the name? Andrew Yang is pushing this. It's a bit of a meme recently, which I find quite funny. Not wrong. It's almost inevitable when you think about it.
Well, I mean, it's what we do anyway. We give people a lot more than $1,000 a month now.
Well, not quite.
I mean, indirectly through services, they get a hell of a lot more than that. All you're doing is being cruel to people who will blow it all and not know how to marshal their resources, and robbing them of the wherewithal and the impetus to go get jobs and make something of their lives. You know, it's just sort of like taking people who already get
when it comes
a
to
raft
the whole,
of services and
the
robbing from them
bootstraps,
the need to get a job is about the worst thing you can do to a person.
Well, when it comes to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that kind of thing, like if it's a horrible thing to say, but if you don't have the cognitive ability to have any kind of job in an increasingly technical, jobs market, then you're kind of boned, really. You're kind of screwed. And okay, universal basic income is almost inevitable for that reason. They've piloted it in a few countries like Finland, I think. I mean, I don't know how it's worked. I should have looked this up, really.
They can afford it in Scandinavia because they have huge amounts of money from natural resources.
But here's the problem. It doesn't fix the fundamental problem that long-term unemployment creates, which is the lack of something to do, but something useful.
Have you read The Welfare Trait?
No. What is
that?
It's
a book by a British sociologist, and he says that successive generations
what's his name? Just so I can Google it.
I can't remember, but the book is called The Welfare Trait.
The Welfare Trait. Okay.
And the book is about how successive generations of welfare dependents seem to produce certain characteristics in people, almost as though there's some sort of genetic memory. And when you take them out of those circumstances and put them in good schools, they still fail if they're the product of many generations of welfare dependents. And nobody understands how on earth this could be. And it seems this holds true across all races and genders and everything else. It seems to be an effect produced by many generations of welfare dependents. The person. He's good. This sort of sounds like it's in the universe of what you're talking about. I don't know that this is a soluble problem unless you make fake jobs for people. And if you read,
we're just going to have to do that.
Right. I mean, it's pretty much what Europe already is. I mean, this sort of massive government. I mean, this is what the NHS is. I mean, this is jobs. This is you don't need half the number of people who work in the NHS to provide healthcare. You
In terms
probably
of
don't even need a
managers,
tenth
layers
of them.
of bureaucracy, yes, I agree. Frontline staff. Well, the thing is, when it comes to
I'm not talking about
cutting
frontline staff, but frontline
who are the
staff are not the
people
majority.
who decide whose jobs go when the cuts come in? It's not going to be the people deciding that. They're not going to choose their own jobs, are they?
Well, no, of course not.
You know, they're going to choose a music therapist, the dentist, the occupation. You get my point.
Well, no, they're all frontline people. I mean, there are many, 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 many layers of administration in the NHS, most of which could probably go.
Almost certainly, totally in agreement.
But this is exactly the decision. This is the result of the bargain. This is the decision the government's already made, which is we'll just make up a load of fake jobs for them, which means enlarge the size of government. You know, the NHS is, I guess, is the best example of that. But it's like the MOD, the Ministry of Defence. At one point, I read a statistic about 10 years ago before I left. The Ministry of Defence employed 70,000 people in procurement. Procurement means deciding where to buy paper clips.
Christ.
You know, so procurement means getting stuff, right? It just people who decide where and how to buy things. You know, there is a fleet of people who decide where the government should buy printers, you know, and stuff like this, with this stated objective of making it cheaper. But of course, they make it vastly more expensive by existing, rather than having someone just order them from Amazon. You know, but the purpose of this really is to keep huge numbers of people in work who otherwise wouldn't be. And this is a product of taking large sections of the productive economy, regulating them out of profitability, and the state kind of hoovering up the remains.
Well, back to automation and in terms of skill sets for people. What are we actually going to do?
I'm being very selfish. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, you should have said.
Yeah, I'm good.
We can go under there if you like.
Nah, I'm good. I'm all right. It's up to you, man.
They've given it to the cameraman and not me. I suppose that's the right way around.
Well, yeah. Well, in terms of back to skill sets and automation, we're going to have a permanently unemployed and unemployable quite large proportion of people, and it's quite a horrifying thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely there's a future we're heading towards, and it's not just
the way. Sorry to cut you off, but the way I think realistically, the only solution, if it's even that, is universal basic income. Because let's face it, people need food to eat. Now that doesn't solve the problem of being useful to society in terms of feeling responsible and whatnot for your community. So universal basic income and community projects that people who probably don't have a lot of cognitive ability can still get their hands mucky in and get involved. But it's a case of what can it be?
But not having an income isn't the primary problem of somebody who doesn't work.
Well, exactly. That's exactly my point. It's the sense of personal and social responsibility.
So how does a universal income solve the problem?
It solves half of the problem. It solves half a problem, which is I need food in my cupboards, but it doesn't solve the main problem, which is...
You live in a welfare state. I think the rate.
We good?
If somebody is starving or homeless in this country, it's generally because they have mental health problems, or they chose to be that way, or they have some kind of drug history. I mean, this is a welfare state. If you want to eat and not work, you can. Like this is not America. Like if you're on if you have a serious medication or whatever, and you stop working in America, you die, or you have to go on Medicaid or Medicare or whatever. And that's a bit of an overstatement of the other.
Food stamps are a thing, aren't they?
That's it's a bit of a bit of hyperbole, and it's kind of the other side's position caricature. But I mean, this is Britain. You live in a welfare state. If you don't want to work, you don't have to, and you will be given money, and you will be given a house.
Yeah, but it's well, what's really interesting is I can't remember where I heard this. So again, citation needed. But long-term unemployment, especially in men, manifests itself in the form of chronic pain. So as long-term unemployment goes up, especially for people
get,
who
like
used to
spine stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, so does opiate painkiller addictions go through the roof.
Yeah.
Which is.
But this
fascinating,
but
quite scary.
This
is
this is having nothing to go to. This is a product of boredom and idleness and.
So how do we fill the void?
Atrophy.
Is there a way?
Well, I like your community projects, but I think Brits have always been quite resistant to this. Like you get your welfare if you go out and help us build roads.
Yeah.
It seems completely reasonable to me that people who want to live from tax revenue should do something to help. Whether it's planting roses and gardens or whatever. Seems
I get that.
seems perfectly reasonable to me, but I don't think it's a politically tenable solution in this country because you'll have people crying, all kinds of screaming blue murder that they have to get out of bed or they won't get their
I have
check.
to break into a sweat. And it's raining. I don't want to do it. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing.
No, I mean, you grow up where I live now, and if you don't work, you can't support a family. But here,
what
if you don't
state
work,
do you live in?
it's fine.
Out of interest?
New Jersey, which is very left wing and very heavily regulated and highly taxed. But I was in Florida beforehand, which is a bit more kind of rough and ready.
Sunny.
Well, it's more sunny, but it's lower taxed, lower regulation, and it's a bit more, in Florida, if you stop working, you get into trouble pretty quickly, whereas in New Jersey, you can probably survive for a bit.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right, so you don't. So your solution is community projects and universal.
Well, I'm
basic
thinking
income.
a combination of universal basic income, and we're just going to have to magic out of thin air some kind of. Honestly, mate, I have
we
no
could build
idea.
pyramids or something.
Fuck it, why not? I mean, seriously, no one has a solution to this.
Or build enormous palaces.
Yeah.
I
I learned that IQ statistic from a Jordan Peterson video literally a year ago, and honestly, I've been thinking about it non-stop because it's
you'd be amazed the number
mind-blowing.
of. So I think if you're under 75, they can't give you the chair in America because you're deemed not capable of understanding your own actions, and there's quite a lot of people who will never get the death penalty because they're too stupid.
5% of people are under 70 or something like that.
Something like that. It's like 1 in 20 people can never get the death penalty because the state thinks they're too dumb to die. I was like, good. I want to go out for a test and see if I can start murdering people. It's just like, I'm all right. You can't get me. I'm thick.
Well, I mean, interestingly, it's illegal for the U.S. military to induct anyone who scores less than 83 on an IQ test.
Right.
And it's been that way since something like the 80s.
And that proportion of the population in the US and I guess in the UK too is going up because IQ is trending downwards in a lot of
it?
Yeah, in a lot of Western countries. I think it peaked and it's now starting to trickle downwards.
Huh.
Yes.
Well, it does make you wonder how much of that is, how much of that is genetic, how much of that is nature, nurture, basically. I mean,
it's
also border on
I
fluid
think
IQ
Germany
and the
has
other kind,
started
whatever
to
that
plummet, and you can figure out why that might be in the last 5 or 10 years. Well, inbreeding does that, And
in fear of the Malicious Communications Act, I remain silent.
I don't know what that is.
Enjoy your First Amendment, honestly, mate.
I do. It's great. No, it's a sorry and sad situation that to sort of. I mean, this conversation, is could never have on television or newspaper. It's not an especially dangerous or upsetting or offensive conversation.
Someone will get offended by something.
Rooted in statistics and all the
what we
rest
do.
of it. No, but I mean, conceivably you could go to jail if you published it in a newspaper. And this is the kind of lunacy that produces candidacy like a candidacy like his. I don't mean that as it sounds, but he's a product of insane times, and what I mean is he would
Honk,
never have
basically.
ever
Clown world.
Right, honk,
Honk,
honk.
honk.
He would never have imagined standing for Parliament, and I certainly wouldn't be out here in the rain in Truro. Although my dad lives here, I haven't spoken to him for about half a decade, and none of his phone numbers work anymore. So maybe he's around. I don't know. I think my dad lives in St Ives these days. I don't know. But no, I mean this is a remarkable and extraordinary thing, and it's a little sliver of the population now. But this is exactly how it started in America, and it led to the election of Trump. After an election cycle or two. So you were here when it began. Prime Minister Benjamin. Will remember your service fondly. Well, by that time we can just call him Emperor.
God Emperor.
Yeah,
We'll
have done away with
Trump.
this. We will have done away with this troublesome democracy business and just elected him dictator for life.
Amen to that.
All right, thanks very much. Cheers.
Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you. Cheers. Thanks very
Take it
much.
easy.
All right.
This is gonna get wet.
Yeah, no, that's good. I can manage two at once.
Apparently the interview's at 3:30, and I really wanted to stand under an umbrella.
Oh, and you got so wet.
Yes, I know. I didn't come
Were you
prepared
just
for the weather.
standing there?
I was
Just sort of
talking
like,
to
where's the BBC? No.
No.
Look, you're so. Oh, don't come near me. You're dripping. I've got satin lapels. You stay away.
Sorry.
You stay away.
So
I'm going to interview you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, fine.
Go ahead.
Too little, too late to save free speech in Britain, or is this just the beginning of a wave that will lead to a Trump-like event?
Well, I don't know about a Trump-like event, but hopefully this is the beginning of people understanding that free speech is actually something we've lost in this country and we need to really bring back. And that starts by repealing Section 127 of the 2003 Communications Act.
Explain to people what that is if they don't know.
For anyone,
they do seem to know.
I'm guessing a few people
I don't know what it is because I haven't been here.
That's the part of the only part of the law that criminalizes gross offense.
Oh, I should leave.
Yes.
I should get on a plane now.
Well, it's over a public network. So
well, I'm banned from them all, so I'm all right.
Well, exactly, so you're safe.
Oh, good. But I did give an interview to Cornwall Live.
Oh, now
maybe that'll get me in trouble. No, I don't know if it was Cornwall Live.
But that's what we really need to do if we want to preserve free speech in this country, or bring it back even.
Okay, and do you worry that given after 30 years maybe of constant trickle-down regulation of, we'll stop you saying this, we'll stop you doing this, the sort of stuff your plastic bag law would bring in, after this sort of constant little encroachment from the edges upon people's freedoms, that now this kind of stuff is seen as a sort of abstract American debate that's only going to capture the imagination of a small slice of people?
Well, I mean, I really hope that,
because most people quite like following rules, don't they?
Wow.
When like Tesco bans kids' sugared drinks from the shelves, people in this country seem to applaud it instead of be horrified, which I can't understand.
There is certainly a kind of loud motherly element.
Yes.
That is very, very much in applause of having the way that you live your life dictated to you, and they think that they should be the ones who tell you how to do it. But hopefully there is a sort of libertarian streak that is latent in the British public, and wants to be able to have the right to say what they like without being criminalised for it.
There is a long tradition of iconoclasm and mischief and defiance in the British national character.
Yes, there
so
is,
you could be right about that, but. We're all fairly comfortable defying our fathers, but we have a lot more reticence about defying our mothers. Do you think the British state has gone from a paternalistic kind of Tory consensus to a maternalistic centre-left state that people just don't feel able to disobey because everything's coached as everything is phrased as though it's all about just being a bit nicer to people, and what's the big deal? How dare what kind of a monster would go around telling rape jokes anyway? We've switched, haven't we, from the sort of hands-off, stern fatherliness of a Tory state to a more interfering motherly state.
Yeah, it's the kind of
micromanaging.
It's the kind of personality that I think.
You guys are fucking troopers.
You guys are actually heroes.
Some of you should cluster under here. For goodness' sake.
And not only that, the protesters are still there, but they're actually the perfect example of what you're talking about, Milo. It's the kind of stern motherly disapproval of what I've done on the internet, and I am some disobedient son that they now need to look down their nose.
There was a mum over there.
Oh yes,
and I was worried about you because she was looking very disapproving, and I thought, we've all had that look.
Yeah.
We've all seen that look. But that's the feeling I get now from European governments. It's like, like, why'd you have to go and do that? Now you knew it was wrong, didn't you? You're not going to do it again, or I'm going to take away your pocket money. You just had your pocket money taken away, didn't you?
That's exactly what they're trying to do. It's the kind of the outlawing of defiance. I think is the problem. The right to be wrong, I think, is something we really need to think about, because you should have the freedom to break the rules. You will suffer the consequences of breaking the rules, of course, but I think that people like our protesters over there would have it so you had no freedom to break their rules.
I think that's true. I think by and large they don't just want to make a noise about your alleged infraction, but they also want there to be serious and ideally custodial consequences.
Oh, undoubtedly.
But my worry for your candidacy is that too many of the British people are happy to nod along with that, and not enough of them will hear that and say, "Wait, what?" So that's my big kind of overarching worry.
It's certainly an overarching worry of mine as well. But we are where we are, and we have to press on with what we have. So hopefully, the British people will understand that there is a reason that tyranny should be resisted in all guises, even if it's a particularly matronly way. Tyranny is tyranny, and it has to be resisted.
Is there something about offensive free speech and offensive statements that mean that you should protect them especially, or that you should protect them but not as much? Should we? I mean, no one's out protesting your right to say you don't like Beyonce, although some people would find that very shocking.
Some people actually probably would, yeah.
Some people don't find that very shocking. I don't like Beyonce. I just like to make clear. I find nothing of artistic value in Beyonce. Some people will find that shocking, but not many people.
Milo gets deplatformed from his last social media.
YouTube. That's enough for YouTube. That's it. That's the last straw.
But you're absolutely right, and this is something that John Stuart Mill identified in On Liberty. It's not the inoffensive speech that
See how I was
protecting.
teeing him up to show off.
Yeah,
that's how good an interviewer I am.
But no, but it genuinely
Who's
is.
John Stuart Mill?
John Stuart Mill is an English utilitarian. He's a famous thinker. Absolutely instrumental in developing liberalism as we understand it. So,
but didn't John Stuart Mill advocate for free speech primarily for the elites? Wasn't he really in On Liberty talking just for the benefit of the educated political class?
I think that he's speaking in broad enough terms that you don't have to classify it that way. Now, being a man of his time in the 19th century, he probably was, but the principles are the same. It's the same as like slave-owning Englishmen saying, well, all men are created equal while they still own slaves. They may well have been flawed products,
and
of
we
their
don't
time,
accept that these days.
Of course, but
rightly.
but that's the point. The principles themselves contained within also contain the end of slavery, because if you do take as an axiom all men are created equal, well, as soon as you accept that these people, no, but it's an important thing. As soon as you accept that the people that you have actually enslaved are also people, then what's your excuse for not treating them the same?
Right. Well, I mean, the real reason that this all comes to an end is the conception of each individual life as having innate value, which is an innovation of Christianity. Ultimately, this is what Christianity brought to the West.
Yes.
And where you don't have Christianity in the Middle East, you don't have that,
or in any other place, frankly.
True.
Well, I mean,
so answer the question about really offensive speech, whether it is
it's the only speech worth protecting. It's the only speech that needs protecting. Inoffensive speech is inoffensive. Nobody complains about it. There's no need to protect it because no one's attacking it. It's only offensive speech or radical ideas. These things must be heard and given a fair hearing.
Why?
Because we might learn something from it. Because if the alternative is the people who are promoting these ideas and this speech, well, if they're not heard, they will feel oppressed. They will feel that they have no other options, and they will radicalize. And that's what we're seeing, frankly, with the Christchurch shooter and the copycats who have now come along with their own manifestos, their own shot at glory and going and shooting up a mosque or a synagogue or whatever it is. I want these things to stop. And the way to make them stop is to have a dialogue with the people that you find the most uncomfortable, whether you like it or not. You don't have to agree with them. You just have to listen to them.
Congratulations, those were the right answers.
Thank you. These are my sincere convictions.
And something I wanted you to say, but I didn't want to run the risk of being accused of putting digits up your rear again. Well, thank you. I was doing a really bad job. You should get the union.
You were, it's fine.
Something I wanted you to say earlier is that to left-wing protesters who are talking about offensive speech, well, offensive speech has historically been an engine of progressive progress.
Yes.
I mean, offensive free speech is how you get suffrage, women's suffrage, gay rights, all this kind of stuff. You don't get this by sort of, being nice, polite, reasonable. And
that is exactly the suffragette
The environmental lobby knows this. Look at Greenpeace. Yeah. Look at what's that? Who are the fur people? PETA. PETA's been overtaken by the internet because it's very difficult to shock people now that you can find anything.
Be very disappointed.
No, PETA's like, it used to be really shocking to go and throw paint on celebrities, but but given what you can access on the internet within a couple of minutes, PETA's kind of had the wind blown out of its sails. They don't know how to shock people anymore. They're going to have to come out for in favor of live skinning of seals or something to get attention again. But they understood, like Greenpeace understood, buying tankers and all the rest of it. This speech on the margins of acceptability has to be something that's defended by principled people who don't necessarily agree with what's being said.
Yes.
In large part because it's an engine of progressive progress. It's an engine. It is a tool of people who would ordinarily be on the other side of politics from us. People who are constantly whining and blabbing on about equality, diversity, blah, blah, blah. At their most fundamental, we agree with most of those principles in most of the ways that they were originally intended.
Of course.
But it was offensive free speech that achieved rights for all those groups in the first place.
Yes, I mean, and not just speech itself, but any kind of expression. I mean, at this point, they'd block Rosa Parks, wouldn't they?
They would. I mean, Feynman still does the, naked in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. But they always strike me as a sort of kind of quaint cute 90s holdover.
Yes, it's
like
not
how
very edgy these days,
no, it's
yeah.
like how demonstrations and protests used to be.
Yeah,
you know, you used to get these like mental naked feminists, and now you just get these sad.
Well, honestly,
They're hipsters with a token hottie,
Come on,
and
come on.
it's
Let's-
so depressing.
Let's give them their credit. They're actually standing out in the rain. So
yes,
that's
but they looked
dedication.
like that when they left the house. I mean, I spent time on this. It's much braver for me to be out in this weather. There could be holes in the brolly. I haven't got time for a 4-hour salon appointment in between all these terrible things you're making me do. This is gonna last. This blow dry has to last me a week.
Honestly, can I thank you all for standing out in the rain like this? This
Yes,
is
good,
like,
thank you very
give
much.
yourselves a round of applause, because Mother Nature is definitely disapproving of my jokes as well, I think, and
Mother Nature's voting Brexit party. Let's talk about that.
Oh, sure. Go.
Vile.
What?
Vile, says Uncle Nigel.
What
was your response to that?
I learned all my jokes from you, Nige.
No, I mean, what happened to Nigel Farage, isn't it? It's very depressing.
Yeah, he's. I think it's his Tory colours showing through, but it's also that he's in London and he's part of the politically correct bubble.
I think
and
he is
so,
now.
Oh, he. I mean, isn't it weird how for like the last 10, 15 years, Nigel Farage has been a racist, xenophobic, far right, Islamophobic, all the names under the sun.
Yeah,
And
now they have someone that he's a useful person to antagonize.
Exactly.
Suddenly he's on the morning couches.
Yes,
you know,
and
yes.
isn't the Brexit Party wonderful? Isn't it distinguished? It's like, well, I mean, I suppose if you can
Started
change
up
your
4 weeks
tune-
ago and you still won't tell us whose money it is.
Yes,
Yeah,
and no party members, just subscribers. Very, very party politics. You know.
So, how does it make you feel to be the object of ire from not just both, but every side of the political? What would we say? The entire political kaleidoscope. You know, you look through it, you turn it upside down, everyone hates you. How does it make you feel?
Honestly, I think that means that I'm doing something right.
Welcome to my world.
It shows that
great, isn't it?
I'm not them, and I know where I stand. I think that this is the sort of thing that's only possible if you approach what you're doing with sincere moral conviction, with sensibly thought out principles, and actually an end goal in mind. Because we are actually threatening the sort of a particular kind of moral order in this country. We are actually saying, look, actions mean more than words. You know, we are not the side that attacks people, but we are the side who offends people. They are the side that won't offend anyone, but they are a side that will attack people.
Well, they offend me, but
sure,
I
but
take
you
the
know
point
what I
you're
mean.
making.
And
Well, no, I mean you're playing the same role in politics that Farage was 15 years ago,
Absolutely,
right? On a
yes.
different field.
For political
You're in-
correctness.
right?
And that's where we
this,
are.
This is a much bigger battle than getting this country to vote to leave Europe.
Yes, it is.
This is
actually,
a
yes.
much bigger fight.
But I do think there's a deep undercurrent of resentment against political correctness, because I really do believe I agree with George Carlin completely. It is fascism parading as manners. Absolutely.
That's absolutely what it is. But my objection to your plastic bags argument.
Oh God, do we have to talk about plastic
Yes,
bags
we
again?
do, because it's such a useful proxy for everything you're wrong about.
Oh, go on.
So, the problem with the plastic bag argument
Yeah.
is it is that little concession
Yes.
that leads to a second one, that leads to a third
Well,
one, and then
it
suddenly,
depends.
two
It depends on what
generations
you-
on, you can't say anything.
It depends on what the limiting principle is, and this has been the problem with free speech. The limiting principle has to be that jokes are acceptable. Like, this is a principle that we have to hold to in the face of everything. Because if jokes are no longer acceptable, then then any kind of free speech that we had left, anything remaining, is gone. And
All right,
that's
let
why
me
we
ask
have
you,
to stop
okay, let
now.
me ask you a serious question then. So
Yeah.
there have been people in the US who have tried to be slippery with this.
Right.
And I'm thinking of Jon Stewart and maybe Bill Maher. People who will play cultural commentator and who command the attention of millions. I mean, Jon Stewart was the thing college kids watched.
I was a fan.
Under George Bush, that was what you watched if you were young and not like a weirdo. And these people like to play fast and loose with their job, right? On the one
They
hand, they
do.
exert the
They
influence
do.
of cultural commentators, but then when they get
Called
pulled
to the
up on
mat,
something,
yeah.
they say, "Oh, I'm just a comedian." How are you different?
Well, I stand by what I say. You know, I mean, if something is a joke, and I think that in context it's obviously a joke, then I think it's unfair to challenge someone on it. I mean, if it was a joke, you either find it funny or you don't.
Yeah.
But I also do make a lot of sensible political commentary, I think, and I stand by the things that I've said, and I'm happy to be challenged on them. I think I have reasoned positions on why I hold the positions that I hold. Unlike Jon Stewart, I'm not just going to go, oh, well, I'm a comedian, I don't answer difficult questions. I do answer difficult questions.
That was an even better answer than I thought you'd give. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was quite a difficult question. I wasn't expecting him to answer it that well.
Well, I was prepared for it because I was just as frustrated as everyone else with Jon Stewart going, well, I'm just a comedian. It's like, okay, but you do political commentary, you know, satire with the comedy that you do, and it's pointed, and you know it's pointed.
And it's not even just that, but it's. I mean, I don't know if I buy this argument. I'm just thinking out loud. But they would say, for instance, the progressive left would say, well, it's not just your intention, it's your consequences, it's the effect you have. Yeah. So if you're a comedian that has an enormous effect on politics and culture, the action of your words is important. Yes. Therefore, you should modify what you say. Therefore, you bear some responsibility. So even if he was solely a comedian, yet he told jokes in a particular direction. Yeah. If everything that ever came out of his mouth was a one-liner, and that's all he ever did, he still shouldn't just be able to say, I'm a comedian, whatever.
The things that he's saying, like exactly. I mean, there is pointed political commentary.
I mean, like Frankie Boyle has a message, right? He fucking hates Tories.
Absolutely.
You know,
he's a communist, yeah.
Well, right. And it should... So what I'm trying to get at is it or is it not, therefore, fair to hold him to account for jokes? Because Frankie Boyle, for instance, says... he does his comedy routine on stage. Doesn't give that many political interviews. He normally gives... I mean, he talks a little bit about it.
He does sometimes.
So would it be fair for me, for instance, as a conservative critic, to present jokes to him, given that they form part of a larger and consistent political narrative, and ask him to account for them?
Well, I think that the distinction to be made is it the quality of the joke, or is it the political message contained therein? And I think that anyone who wants to give a charitable approximation of what's being said as the sort of undertone of the joke, I think anyone can just extract the actual political argument that's being made as an implication alongside the joke and address that. And that's totally fair.
Yeah, so you could ask him about his politics, which you have gleaned from his humour.
Exactly.
But you shouldn't ask him to defend the fact that he jokes about racy subjects.
Of course.
That's very reasonable. That's very reasonable.
I think it is. And but that's the thing, you know.
I think I'd vote for you after all.
Well, thank you very much.
Sorry, he did bring me here to support him. I just wasn't sure before today. I mean, I don't live here.
I'm glad I've won you over, frankly. You know?
So look, if you can win over the people that you ship in to support you, this is step one. You know, this is stage one. You know, you're going to go far. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
But I really think there's something to it, because what you're doing is you're not addressing a political argument. You're addressing your personal interpretation of how you feel about it. And really, Frankie Boyle doesn't have to account to how you feel about his jokes. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Right. But if he's making a political commentary, if he's forming an argument, even if indirectly through satire, you can talk to him about that. And I think he would as well.
If somebody is a fan of Frankie Boyle,
yes, and
commits a violent act. Let's say, for the sake of silly example, this is a silly hypothetical, but let's say they shoot somebody, and when asked, say, Frankie Boyle has been the biggest influence on my life. He has shown me that Tories are evil, and I went out and I shot somebody because I listened to Frankie Boyle. Is Frankie Boyle bear any responsibility?
No.
Should Frankie Boyle watch the jokes he makes in future?
No.
How do you
the responsibility for that was on
how
the
do you
individual.
prevent those things happening in future?
Well, I'm not sure you can prevent people from being maniacs, and that's how
these are all very good answers. I hope you're listening.
Well, I think this is true. I think the sort of people who are primed to do that, the people who are frankly trapped in a kind of echo chamber, they might have some mental problems themselves.
I think they'd find any old reason.
Exactly.
I think they want to act out, and if it's not him, it'd be something else.
Exactly. And this is
if it wasn't guns, they'd use a truck
or a knife or whatever. This is why I don't go on about the Young Turks, because they've actually inspired, allegedly, at least 2 mass shooters at this point, who are fans of their channel. Elliot Rodger was also a fan of their channel. You know, and it's not their fault that these people do this. It's when you've got a large media presence, the idea that someone out there who's a lunatic isn't watching it.
I mean, I have wanted to shoot people listening to the Young Turks. I think it's a quite normal reaction to that channel.
Well, since I'll be uploading this to YouTube, I can't make a comment. And I should probably think of poor Gerard's stress levels as well before I do.
No, don't go there. Don't do it. Well, I'll say it for us all.
But yeah, so but anyway, yes, no, it's not their fault. When you've got a large audience, a lot of people listen to you, and a few of those people are going to be lunatics, and if you're really unlucky, 1 or 2 of those people will do terrible things.
Yes, and I agree you don't bear responsibility for that. Who are your role models?
Right, yeah. Well, I would say Christopher Hitchens, George Carlin. It used to be people like Ricky Gervais and Jimmy Carr and David Baddiel and Frankie Boyle, but they seem to have shown themselves to be weak, spineless, and incapable of defending their own craft.
Yes, I think that's fair. That's true. All atheists.
Well, I'm an atheist as well.
Oh, you are, aren't you?
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
no. Then I'm out again. I'm sorry. I'm out again.
You can vote for Anne Widdecombe if you like.
Would you?
She's the alternative.
I'd vote for her for something.
She's all right. She's just.
Has she done I'm a Celebrity? Because I would be one of the people at home phoning to make her eat the bugs.
She's just
you
really
know,
funny.
like
She's really anti-gay. She'd convert you.
Would she?
Yes.
Well, I don't have a moral problem with conversion therapy. I just wish it worked. The only issue I have with it is it's ineffective. If it was
someone who's married.
No. If it worked, I would have had it done by now. Are you kidding me? Imagine how beautiful my children would be.
If it worked the other way, I'd have done it by now too. Oh yeah.
No. They're so big. How could you? Can I say that?
Well, I think it's a bit late now, isn't it?
Well, she won't know unless I clarify.
Let's just change the topic.
Okay. Fine. Are you going to? Okay. So
yeah,
you're
I
an.
do have the BBC interview very shortly.
Well, let's go and see.
So
the BBC.
if there are anyone, in fact, we'd probably better go now. Actually.
Oh, it's nearly time. Where is it?
It's about 10-15 minutes walk away. So.
Well, shall we all go? I think we should all go.
I prefer if you all stayed here actually. But if you could talk to a couple.
You're not the boss of me.
I know I'm not, but
you're not the boss of any of us.
I know I'm asking.
I think we should go see the BBC. Don't you? No, it's all right.
Come
okay,
on.
all right.
But
all right.
if you could,
they'll write it out. They'll say an armed violent mob descended on BBC Southwest. They won't. They'll accidentally use pictures from some kind of like uprising in Raqqa. What?
Yeah.
No. They'll say all manner of.
Right. I'll leave you with the microphone, and if you'd like to. Just interview a few other people, talk to them, see what they're up to, see what their concerns are. If you could be
still?
You're such a good friend to me. Thank you.
One Brazilian steakhouse dinner. My God! And now he thinks he's. No, you didn't. You left 20 quid on the table and fucked off. And by the way, with tip, you owe me £4.20. £4.20. Another reason you don't have my vote. I might vote. Okay, who else would like to say something? Because I'm getting hoarse. Who? You? All right, fine. Come under my patriotic brolly.
Milo.
Yes.
It's so weird to see you in Cornwall.
it's weird to be in Cornwall.
It's the first time you're here?
I don't know.
Man.
No, I mean I had a really dissolute 20s. I don't remember most of it.
What a welcome.
any time between the ages of 20 and 25, I might have been here. I have no way to know.
Do you know? There's a few reasons for why Cornwall is special. And one of them that I've discovered is actually Cornwall contributed quite a lot to the ideology of communism.
Oh.
So
do you know it might be because there's so much the people in Cornwall are a little darker hued because of the Silures. It's Spanish people, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, that's a controversial
that's like
topic.
the south. No. I mean not like recent, but I mean Southern Ireland and Cornwall have Spanish people.
Do you know
maybe that's it. Maybe they're hankering after sort of European-style dictatorship.
Do you know why that is?
No, I don't.
It's because essentially Cornwall has always been a Catholic county, and so during the Middle Ages and certainly in the Reformation of the monasteries, essentially, of course, Henry VIII didn't fancy it, and so he goes and dissolves the monasteries. But in Cornwall, being politically very, very distant.
Yeah,
from
and geographically, of course.
They wanted to stay Catholic.
Right.
And so they had this big rebellion, and there are a number of others. There are many, many Tudor rebellions. But they had this rebellion, and essentially, because Cornwall retained this Catholic identity, the Spanish actually invaded Cornwall as a starting point, because the Spanish at the time were
because they
Catholic.
knew that the people in Cornwall would be like, yeah, go on.
Well, they had just been. They just.
This is like Berkeley, you know, when the Black Bloc protesters show up, and all the students who are there who don't have weapons just go, yeah, go on. I saw it happen in the crowd. There was this line of people with like brickbats and I'm so bad at sport, I can't even remember what it's called. Baseball bat. And shields, and the students just parted. Like it was like watching Moses, you know, just like they just parted and let all these guys just march through. It was amazing. So this is what happened in Cornwall.
But what I was going to say with that is, of course, the Spanish invade, and they go and rape all the locals. And so, quite literally, a lot of Cornish folk who have lived in the area, and certainly the Mounts Bay area, for hundreds of years.
So this is why people down here are quite good looking. Because you've got because you've got a little bit of.
They're literally huge.
Well, it's the same with the Southern Irish, isn't it? You know, there's a little Central European or something.
And of course, the Spanish themselves, were invaded by the Islamic Empire and such like. And so you really have got a lot of this sort of mixing.
So not many gingers in Cornwall.
Oh, there's loads of gingers in Cornwall.
Oh, there are?
I think that's an Irish thing, though, isn't it?
Well, it's Scottish and Irish, but it's a recessive gene. So if you are continuously invaded by lots of different populations, it won't assert itself very often.
Interesting. But communism. Did you know?
Yes, sorry.
Did you?
No, it's my favourite subject is gingers. I know everything about it. I know all the genetics, all the history, everything.
I thought you liked black.
No, I don't. Well, you find out enough about gingers, and that's where it ends up, you know.
You can tell I've been watching too many of your videos.
No, it's just the right number, which is all of them.
But no,
communism.
Marx's teenaged, angsty friend, a chap called Engels, he used to visit Cornwall quite regularly.
Really?
And
because the weather down here is so nice, and
well,
you wander through here, and there's a little sort of hammer and sickle on the ceiling. You know?
Don't trust the brochures.
Wait, is it more like this than the postcards?
Trust me, it's been
quite wet down here. Huh?
It's been beautiful all week, and this is the first day it's rained like this in a while.
I moved to Florida, and I thought sun, palm trees, beautiful. Half the year it is disgusting. It is so sticky and hot, and it rains like this, except it's, I don't know what the Celsius is, but it's like, 60, 70 degrees, and you walk out and it's like walking into a hot shower, and you're like, oh, guess I'll go to work then. It's disgusting. So it's okay. So you would not recommend anybody move here. So you hate Cornwall?
Nope, I love
very
Cornwall.
Anti-Cornwall.
Cornwall is beautiful. It's my home, and it always will be.
Right.
But Engels visited Cornwall, and one of the best.
One of
the. I'm making an elaborate point here. Please trust me.
Please carry on.
Please trust me. It will be very, very insightful. I promise.
No, you don't have to be. I'm just learning as you go.
So Engels visited Cornwall, and he goes and visits the tin mines. Right?
Yes.
And so he goes and sees the tin mines, and he records what he sees, and of course there's all these incredibly hard-working people and such like going to these immensely dangerous places of work, and he goes and said, this is terrible. These are the working class and whatever. And so he goes back to go and meet Marx in London, and he goes and relays his findings. And he publishes all of this in Conditions of the Working Class, dated 1844. Look it up. It's amazing.
And there's stuff about Cornwall in there.
Find scholarly articles citing this.
I think I read once that there's lots of minerals and natural resources down here.
Cornwall,
like deposits of things.
Cornwall is the foremost mining region in the world, but that's a totally different point.
Really?
But here's the thing, Milo. Here's the thing, right? Engels goes back and writes this, and he concludes that the Cornish are forced to work in these conditions, but they weren't. They chose to do this, and they are immensely proud of their heritage.
Right.
And so Engels is portraying this as the bourgeoisie enslaving the local people for their work. But he's totally misunderstanding it. He doesn't understand the Cornish way of doing things at all.
And if this is a predominantly Catholic area, this sort of gives the lie to this old thing about the Protestant work ethic, right? And it's just like, other people can work just as hard, not necessarily being Catholic.
I'd have to look into it. But
yeah, it's interesting. So
but the point is, he totally got it wrong. I mean, as you'd expect, an angsty teenager visiting a place that he didn't know very well. But if he gets it wrong with Cornwall, he must have got it wrong with everywhere else. And I'll tell you the other thing as well.
People sometimes see what they want to see.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And as an angsty teenager, which I have been myself. I'm sure we all have.
Yes. You look like you still are. How old are you? No, I mean I don't mean you look.
I wish I could say I was too young
You
for
see,
you.
I can't even give people compliments without everyone thinking I'm being shady. I was just trying to say he looked young, and now everyone thinks I'm a bitch. Right, so go on.
And also the common farming. He based it primarily on what was
You'd
happening.
be very careful this side. I'm watching you. Let's move away from them. They're reckless.
I'm just following the umbrella.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
But no, he based his common farming, which of course was totally disastrous in the whole of the Soviet Union,
Yes.
again on the manorial principle of Cornwall.
So on the basis that people should be mindful of the effects of their behaviour and speech and not just their intention. What responsibility does Cornwall bear, therefore, for the Soviet Union?
So
quite a significant one.
It was a case study for Engels.
People shouldn't have looked so miserable going to work. if they'd been whistling and skipping on their way to the mines.
History might have rewritten.
We might never have had Cuba. Well, this is the lesson for you all: is smile more.
I didn't think we'd get to this conclusion, honestly.
No, I mean, everybody was happy. There we go. All right, well, that's been very enlightening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Perfect, wonderful. Thank you. Well, you can make do. You can make amends. You can right the wrongs of the past of your communist wellspring down here in Cornwall by voting for Carl. How's that? All right. Anybody else would like to speak at length? The longer, the better, as long as you're interesting.
Tea break?
Yes, the well-dressed young man.
Thank you. Oh, thanks.
Talk us through your outfit.
Okay, so where would you like to first?
Well, I want you to face them.
Yeah, okay.
Because I can tell from the audience some people need a lot of help dressing.
Yeah,
so come and stand back here.
Preferably
Some of you need some real, some of you need a gay best friend. Let me put it like that. All right. So talk us through your outfit.
Well,
I want
just
to know.
like
Don't compliment me.
Well,
I know it's I know it's the natural instinct, but talk us through where things are from, what they are, what makes it distinctive.
The vast majority of it is custom designed by me, as I like to get a. Most of it is
We don't
custom
want to
designed
miss
by
anything.
me. As I like to, I like
Did
the
you
sartorial.
cut the suit yourself?
I didn't cut it. No, I had someone do that, but I told them.
But you
how to
designed
cut
it yourself.
Yes, I did. So
You know what I like? You don't see this anymore. Look out for this on TV because you will never really see this very often now. These lovely peak lapels.
Yes.
Right.
You've got little peak lapels, although they're
not on here, but
well, they're very short, but they're trendy peak lapels.
I turned it off. Let's try that again. There we go.
Yep.
No, my favourite suit is grey and it has these lovely peak lapels. You don't see them except on Mad Men these days. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, so it's called 2x4. So these buttons all work. Okay, they all button up, and then there's two faux buttons, and that means they don't button. And I think yours are all faux as well.
Well, these are all faux because this is just a degenerate fashion item. This is not real tailoring. It's just from a department store.
Like you said, peak lapels.
Yep.
Okay, just essentially accentuate your shoulders.
Yep.
Very traditional for double-breasted jackets.
Yep.
And if you have a notch lapel, which is a sort of cutaway one,
yep,
then you clearly have no idea about anything sartorial. A little pocket square here.
You're taking this down.
Yes, you should. As I want to see all of you very well dressed next time I see you.
This is how I imagine UKIP voters to dress.
I'm not a UKIP,
and I'm always disappointed that they don't.
Yes, well,
I just want a sort of really well-behaved, neat, orderly cube of people dressed like
well,
this.
Unfortunately, I have to disappoint you because I'm a Tory and I would never vote UKIP. Unfortunately.
Oh dear.
No.
Oh dear. Well, they don't want you.
No,
they don't want you. Have you seen you?
I wish I could see myself more, frankly. Yeah.
We're like sisters.
Quite. Yes. Okay. So a little pocket square here that's got sort of.
Tell us about the rules for pocket squares and ties.
Okay, well, there's
I
a lot.
I know
to
it's
go
a contentious subject.
Okay.
Lots of competing opinions. What are your golden rules for pocket squares and ties?
Well, one of the big golden rules that often you probably could buy from Marks and Spencers is that ties that come with matching pocket squares made of the same fabric.
Ooh.
Never wear those together because it's far too similar. But I would like to find this. So I've got a red colour notes going through here, and those are found in the pocket square, but not predominantly through it. So while it's a good match, it's not sort of blinding. It's not the same, and that's also joined with the Royal Cipher lapel pin I'm wearing.
Right.
Are
you allowed to wear other people's?
The crest. Well,
because I bought some slippers that had a fleur-de-lis on them, and I bought them from Crockett and Jones, and then someone said, you can't wear other people's insignia, that's the sigil of the Prince of Wales. All right, okay.
Well, I am a very proud subject of Her Majesty and all the royal family. And
do you know I would have guessed that about you?
I would
have.
Yes. I would have thought you had as a communist. Is what I imagine I look like.
Something about you. I just intuited that you might be a monarchist.
Well, you are very much correct, and I wish they had.
I'm insightful in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Lovely. Okay, good.
Okay.
And shoes.
The
do's and don'ts.
Yeah, the shoes are customs I made as well. So they're black leather with black suede through the middle on the vamp, if I remember correctly. And I'm being put on the spot a little. They're full broguing, which means that they go all the way through, and derby closing. So that's a little bit more casual. But I like to have suede in all my design shoes to go through on the vamp because it's fun, it's playful, and I want to portray that message. I'm a fun-loving guy. I'm a man of the people, that kind of thing.
I can see that.
Exactly.
This has been lovely. It's worth coming after all. Right. So what I now want you to do is come with me, and we're going to start rating people. Okay. We're going to start.
Gosh.
No, I'm just. Oh fuck.
Yes.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Unless you would like to be assessed.
I should have to hold on to all my valuables.
By our fashion expert. All right.
Yes.
If you would anybody like to be assessed by our fashion expert?
Please come one and all.
We will make accommodations for the fact that it's raining. You come and line up here if you'd like to be assessed by our fashion expert.
Yes.
He's going to assess you. Excellent. Now, he's going to assess your dress sense, and I'm going to assess your politics. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I will ask you some test questions. They'll be. Oh,
yes.
sorry. Yes. I will ask you some questions, and if you get them wrong, you get rejected. You get ejected out, and if you get them right, you say. And he will give a little assessment of your ensemble.
Don't expect any high scores here, people. Don't expect any high scores.
Look. I mean, we're really. Our net is dragging the bottom of the lake.
Right.
All right, come over. You don't get points for facial hair. No. All right. Let's start with you. How are you feeling about your ensemble today? You feeling confident?
I'm like a sponge that hasn't been wrung out. I feel okay. I'm kind of a little bit worried the water's kind of screwing up my hair gel routine.
Yeah, no, I see. Okay, fine. Sorry. Yes. Okay, fine. So, and how would you describe your personal style in 3 words?
Quite wet. Slightly worried that
that's quite.
That's a lot more than 3.
So your answer is quite wet, slightly.
Yes.
Okay. How would you describe your style in 3 words?
Simple, sweet and simple.
That's 4 words. And you?
Doctor Who lookalike.
Which Doctor?
Yeah, no,
Who?
that is. Which Doctor?
Which
Who?
Doctor?
All of them.
But you don't look like any of them.
No.
Don't worry, I left my blazer at home.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, perhaps he's the next one. We don't know
Possibly.
about him. How many reincarnations does he have left? You know this. What am I looking at you for?
I prefer Star Trek, frankly.
I didn't think you'd own a television.
I don't. Oh, well, I
thought.
do, yeah.
No. I thought he would reluctantly have purchased a wireless.
Well, my mother and father would never bought them until me and my brother were sort of 7 years old.
Okay.
They objected to all things technological.
No, we
wouldn't have any of it. But now, we
so Star Trek.
broken down.
What else?
I rather like Star Trek. Gosh, putting him on the spot of the town.
That's surprising. You don't watch
really?
like Brideshead Revisited or anything.
I can sort of take that sort of stuff and leave it. But I really got Star Trek quite a lot recently.
Do you watch period dramas and complain about the inconsistencies and inaccuracies in outfits?
Completely.
Did you watch Downton just get furious because he was wearing the wrong kind of shoe?
They do. Honestly, it's abominable. I can't watch sort of any lawyer TV shows because they always button up all the buttons wrong. They've got ugly ties that are far too wide or far too slim for the lapels as they sort of match.
It's because they're dressed.
It's a curse.
It's because they're dressed by ladies.
Yes.
You see, they're dressed by people who don't actually wear suits. It makes me mad too. All right, and
yes. Well, let's have the camera get a good look at him.
No. Just
yes.
Okay, how would you describe your style? And
culturally insensitive, I think.
Yeah,
I'm a racist. I hate Asian people. That's why I got this.
Okay. Cultural appropriation because you don't like Asians.
I think it's best left unsaid.
Let's. All right. Okay. So 1 political question each, and he's going to rate you, and the winner wins absolutely nothing. Okay. You. The government should ban plastic bags. True or false?
Only if it's more green than other bags, you
know? No. Off you go. You go. Same question to you.
You know, I'm a man of principle. Yes.
Off you go.
God.
You.
No.
Good, you can stay. No. Okay, fine. With 2 people remaining.
Well, I think if a plastic bag would go much nicer than the hat, I think. So maybe they shouldn't stay banned.
In your case, they should be compulsory.
Yes,
I say so. That's not just plastic bags, but great big bin liners. Right. Okay. You only have 2 people left.
Yes.
Now, you've got to give him some credit. The shoes and the T-shirt go
Sort of
together.
match,
There's white on the laces and white on the shirt.
And a little bit of red there.
It's got a little
Looks
splash
sort
of
match.
colour.
The shoes do go terribly well with.
I don't know what the hat's doing, but you know,
causing great offence.
We allow people a little misstep now and
country.
again. And this one, everything looks of a style.
There's a theme.
It's coherent.
I don't know if I should say what the theme. I think the theme is.
No,
but,
you shouldn't say what the theme is. No. But it's coherent.
But it is certainly coherent.
All right. So marks out of 10 for this outfit.
He's good at layering. I can give him that. There's nice.
Marks out of 10.
Oh gosh, would 10 be this? Because I mean, I imagine it.
Well,
can't
no,
get much
because then you're
better.
just going to be giving like 0 points out all day. So no,
Milo, we've only known each other for about 10 minutes, but you already know me too well.
No. Let's say that. Well, let's put the bar low, and let's say that 10 is. God, if you absolutely have to, because that's about the best that anyone here is going to score from you.
Oh yes.
So 10 is 10 being the best. If you absolutely have to, and 0 being you're first over the wall, along with the vegans and the cyclists.
Yes. Well.
Right.
Well, at least none of them are in lycra.
No, but if you better have a body. If you're going to wear lycra, you better have a body. Ooh. Okay, marks out of 10.
Ooh, it's considering our
scale. Yeah.
It's sort of, I'd say a 7.5, I suppose.
That's not bad.
There's an interesting.
Bad.
He's got a good 2 of layers. There's a theme.
That's just a few small percentage points below contempt. That's great.
I'd say so.
Okay, so and this person.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is either a terribly high scorer or a terribly low scorer.
You see, it's growing on me.
No,
like a fungus.
Exactly. There are parts.
I expect you're familiar with that.
There are parts of Italy that he'd go very well in. It's very sprezzatura.
Just sort of toenail started falling off when he was 15 and just never bothered to fix it and whatever. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Sprezzatura, if anyone doesn't know, essentially is you look like you haven't put any effort in, like you just sort of flung it all on, which is a bit of the look like you're going for.
He does.
And
no, exactly. This is. Well, you see, this is.
You tried to wear like that. Yeah. 0.
No, if you didn't.
If he tried to look like that.
So he's basically saying that the key to good style is to look effortless.
Yes.
You know, that effortless chic. So if you hadn't tried,
you
would have scored really well. But since you did, you're out. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Goodbye. Oh,
very good, Milo.
Well, no, here's the weakest thing. I was on that. I came third. Thank you very much.
Yes, our last man
you
standing.
win best outfit today,
Yes.
and you win absolutely nothing, unless you want a book or something. No, fuck you too. All right. Thank you very much. It's been a delight. Thank you. Something to brag about now. Maybe. Sorry, just a minute. I'm gonna show you all what a secret nerd I really am. It's Counter-Strike. Yeah. All right. No. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. Anything you'd like to share with us?
No, I'm just a YouTuber, so I don't say much.
Well, what's your channel? That could be your prize. You can tell these 11 people where to find you on the internet.
The boy right here is called JC Kibrick 2012. If you're interested, I'll play a lot of Call of Duty and a lot of FIFA.
See that was
So you knew that was Counter-Strike, huh?
Yeah. I had no idea.
Of course you didn't. I'll change it to Deep Space Nine for you, okay?
Yeah, that was the worst theme.
Oh, do you like Voyager?
That was the worst theme.
Do you
of
like
all
Voyager?
Of them. No.
Of course you think
no,
that.
Voyager was okay.
The movie Generations. I don't.
No, that was by far the worst of the modern movies.
Okay. All right.
Milo.
We are not going to debate Star Trek.
Okay.
Star Wars. We're not going to debate Star Trek movies.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's been a delight. Thank you. Have a lovely day, and congratulations on your new sartorial achievement.
Yes, very well done,
Round
sir.
of applause for our best dressed audience member. You can go now. Well, thank you for that. It was very helpful. That was good.
I was thinking about talking about politics, but
no, thanks.
No, I'm glad.
Milo. No, you're a Tory. We don't have.
I thought you were once a Tory, weren't you? something you're the right wing.
I'm not in favour of gay marriage. Oh no, thanks. No. It's no. I can't accept anything with a rainbow on it. It's against my values. But thank you very much. Thank you. No, so, where's he gone? I'm in favour of gay marriage, not in spite of being a conservative, but because I'm a conservative. My God, I lost. I lost faith. I lost faith in the Tory party.
Because
that moment.
I'm a Catholic as well. I'm
Right.
Catholic. Yes.
Okay.
And yes, I'm just trying to think. How do I say this without possibly never
Thank
getting
you
a
for
future
my
career?
gay sandwich.
Mm.
I'm going to pop it down here. All
Yes,
I'm
that's
going
very
to
much
keep
what I'm
you on
emulating.
the sidelines, and we're going to find somebody else to bring in. Who else would like to make a spectacle of themselves? What? Okay, you mission accomplished. Come and stand over. Come and stand over here. Do we have a third microphone? Yeah. Can I? Yeah.
Do you want to hear a political joke?
I don't know.
Jess Phillips.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This has been nice. Thank you. Would you like to tell us another joke? Nothing racial.
Theresa May.
No, you're just naming left-wing politicians. Yes, sir.
Did you ever walk to school to the sound of air raid sirens?
No, sir. That doesn't strike me as very funny.
It wasn't very funny.
Oh, there we go.
Did you ever walk to school here in Bolton?
No, I didn't, sir.
Did you ever stand in your back garden with your grandmother watching the spits and hurricanes from Biggin Hill taking off?
No.
Boat, stay.
You want to stay in Europe, sir? Because of the war?
No, not because of the war, because of what it taught us.
Do you want? Well, I don't want to put him on the spot to talk in front of everybody. I didn't think he wanted that.
No, it taught us.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last war we had?
Right. Okay.
Carry on the lesson, eh?
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. No need for that. Let's be nice to people. But yes, it was the Falklands. And somebody else want to say something? Do you have a joke that you could produce for us?
No, but I do have a bit of an anecdote if you want to hear it.
I really don't, but go on.
A friend of mine.
No, I just wanted to be respectful because he's obviously got a very sincerely held point of view, and he's wants to have a moment, and that's okay. There's no point being mean. You, on the other hand, I can be mean to.
Oh, of course.
If your anecdote is terrible, you have to leave. Not just here, but you have to go. Just get the bus home. Right.
It
tell us
features
your
the Queen, if that's
tell
any-
us your anecdote.
If you even dare.
You picked the wrong one. Right.
Oh, you know it, sweetie.
Tell us. All right, warming up. You're not amused by any of this, are you?
No, not at all.
No. Go ahead. She never said that. Queen Victoria never said, "We are not amused," although in her diaries she very often wrote, "We were very much abused." Excuse me, very much.
She was.
Let me try that again. She often in her diaries wrote, "We were very much amused," but she, as far as we can tell, never wrote or said, "We are not amused."
Was very sort of fun-loving, but especially after her death. No, she was. No, she really was. No, she really was very fun-loving. But after her death,
she was very fun-loving, especially after her death.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
But after her death, she had loads of diaries. She kept them all through her life.
Yeah.
But the King Edward after her, said they must destroy almost all of her diaries.
Because they were too fun.
Because she was a massive bitch about all the other kings and queens of Europe.
It does sound a bit like she was basically like Princess Margaret.
Yes, she was very chatty indeed.
Who's your favourite royal ever?
Oh, well, it depends on what.
I'm guessing you hate Diana.
I don't hate Diana. I mean, I don't hate.
Just feel a bit sorry for not.
I'm glad. I wish.
Who's your favourite royal? Just royal.
Modern living.
Well, they won't know who the hell you're talking about otherwise.
I'll give you two answers, okay?
Can we keep it to the sort of the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries?
Maybe a little earlier than that, but. My favourite one, sort of a fun-loving guy, is Charles II.
Right.
He was an absolute boy. He had.
Charles II, who was a total lad.
No, he honestly was. He would drink all day.
Yeah.
Have sex all day at night.
Yes.
He'd drink, get hungover, go to church on Sunday,
Yeah.
fall asleep. The bishop will wake him up.
This is the Catholic way.
Yes,
is this how you spend your days?
Well, I wish, Milo. But no, all I do is just watch your videos and count down the days till I meet you. That's what I do.
There are worse
Milo.
ways to live.
Well.
Okay, so Charles II, total lad.
Totally.
Okay.
But Queen Anne, actually, is my...
Queen Anne?
I think it's the pinnacle of constitutional monarchy. Even though she only reigned for about, I think, 10 years, if I remember correctly, she attended more cabinet meetings than any other monarch and was highly involved in politics.
And is that a good thing when we
totally
have people
is.
like Charles kind of looming?
I've got a big, long monarchy thing to talk about. But also, a little fact about
you
her.
Haven't.
I totally do, Milo.
No, you haven't. We've got to move on.
Well, she was the last monarch to actually not sign a bill through Parliament. And I think
You mean on principle she refused to sign something?
Well, it was about garrisons in Scotland, and she was scared that the Jacobites might be used against her.
Okay.
But I think that's constitutional monarchy, and monarchy is a principle and an ideology that must come back.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, we all agree, but I can tell we're starting a stump speech now.
Well, no. Actually, UKIP's policy on the monarchy, I rather disagree with.
What would tell us?
Because they want to, essentially, they lean a little bit Republican in more than other parties. And that is utterly ghastly, and I can't imagine anything worse than republicanism.
I'm just filling in, so I can't tell you either way.
Have you got Republican tendencies, Marley?
No, God, no. No.
But you do live in America.
Yes, but we've got we don't have a king, we have a god emperor.
Yes.
Not
officially.
It's not a real royal family, but it's close.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean we have Melania speaks 6 languages, beautiful, elegant. We have the living embodiment of heroic masculine virtue in the Oval Office.
But whether
they've even got the slightly gimpy kid. It's a royal family.
But in republicanism,
Make America great again.
He will be gone in about 5 years.
Who?
Under Republic, Donald Trump, he shall have to leave.
I think he's going to be gone in a few years, no matter what. They're going to get him.
Yeah, so he's got. I think he'll win the next election.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. But I don't think he'll be allowed to serve out the term.
Do you think he's going to get assassinated in Milo or something?
I don't think he will serve out the term, and I
One
don't
way
think
or
it'll be
another.
his choice. Yes,
So
that's as far as I'm prepared to go on that subject, because
is it, Milo?
I can say pretty much what I want, unless it's about Trump, in which case it'll make news back home. Right. I don't think he'll serve out the second term. We must let somebody else.
Yes, of course.
Look, you wouldn't invent the monarchy if you were designing a system
you would.
from...
You definitely would, Milo.
Well, I hadn't finished. I don't think if you were designing a state from scratch, tabula rasa, you wouldn't invent a constitutional inherited monarchy out of nowhere. But we're very lucky to have inherited it, because it does seem to be the best system. Because you either get the American system, where you have a president who has to be both president and CEO in corporate terms, and presidents are only ever good at one or the other of them, and no one's good at both. And presidents in America always fail because they try to do the one that they're not good at. So Trump very obviously likes the baubles, bells and whistles. He's a president, whereas Obama was a CEO, Or you get the French version with the elected president, who basically just costs billions of euros to
say surrender.
Live in... to live in palaces and do everything they can to stay out of touch with ordinary people. I haven't released it yet, but I have recorded because I sometimes do little characters. I've done Ilhan Omar and Christine Blasey Ford. I have done Macron, but it's a sort of mashup of Macron and Marie Antoinette, so it has the wig and the ruching, Maybe I'll release it soon. Okay, well we're agreed that the monarchy is the best thing about Britain, right?
Although, and I do sort of agree that if you did make a country on paper...
No, I mean, be honest. Nobody would just come up with it. How would you pick which family? But
I don't know if you'd come up with it.
We have inherited the best system.
If you had thought of the idea, I think you certainly would implement it, as it gives so many benefits and makes so much money. And is such a better institution than a president who could well be bad, who's self-interested. Because when you're born a monarch, that's it. From the moment of birth, you are at the peak of society. You're never going to get any better. You can't have it any better.
Right. So the only option, therefore, is a life of service.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about something a little more controversial. Meghan Markle.
Okay.
Ooh.
She seems to me to be an especially poor addition to the royal family, because I think she joined it imagining that it was going to be this life of extraordinary prestige and privilege.
Well, a little bit like Diana,
and
yes.
well,
she's trying to
Princess
Diana seemed like a nicer person to me.
Well, but Princess
and,
Diana,
and
she
Meghan
wanted
Markle
to
seems
be,
to want to
very
bark at
glamorous.
people and boss them about, complain because there's eggs in the whatever.
Well,
she
there's
wants
a reason for that.
She wants fragrance. What was it? She wanted not humidifiers. She wanted diffusers, like in a 14th century chapel she got married in because she just didn't like the musty. I mean, she's a diva. And joining the royal family, to my mind, was about joining an institution that is about service and duty and obligation. And she seems to have no grasp whatsoever of the fact that her job is to serve rather than to rule. I mean, I think she thought she was becoming a princess in the 1400s.
Yes, there's many an element of that, and a lot of consorts, queen consorts, and sort of that of the princes and the princesses, often do when they first come in. The first few months, they like the glam. They want to live the life of a royal.
Yeah.
But slowly they learn that no, their job isn't about actually the glamour, and that while what the surface level appears to be, truly it's about service, about working for your subjects, and they have a true innate sort of built into them love for their subjects more than a president ever could, because the president only sees votes.
Right, and she seems to treat the institution as a thing to
be molded.
Beautify and
it's sort of a honeymoon period. No, she's still learning what there really is to do. And
what did she get scolded by the Queen for recently? Because she
God
was
knows.
like bollocking staff because she's like, I can taste egg in this or something, or something. It's not very it's not very becoming, is it?
In many ways, it's not. But do
you think she'll get better over time,
or
or do you think they're just going to go rogue?
No.
I loved that she sort of she said, "Oh, we're going to raise our kid gender fluid just for attention," and then as soon as it comes out, before it's even got a name, we've got a boy. There were some really, really angry feminists when that happened.
Yes.
In America, they were writing furious blog posts about how she's betrayed us. She said she was going to anyway.
When did they not write angry blog posts?
Could you stop trying to? It's attention seeking. Are you quite done? No, because I thought they were laughing at me and they were laughing at you. Yeah, upstaged by a dribble. Better or worse over time? Is she? I mean, I could just see. I can see her holding up in the countryside with Harry and just sort of giving up on the royal family.
There are essentially two.
A life of disillusionment and despair.
Shall I probably go into a similar direction as Princess Diana did?
Yeah.
Princess Diana, when she came in, she wanted to always go out in her nightgowns, and Prince Charles didn't really like that.
But Diana was a very damaged person. I mean,
Yes.
she obviously had a lot of issues, whereas Meghan Markle just seems like a sociopath.
I don't think so. I think sociopath's a bit of a stretch, Milo.
No, I mean, she's got that sort of cold, demented Hollywood thing where she thinks she can treat everyone around her like they exist for her pleasure.
I don't think it's necessarily
like
cold.
emailing footmen at 4:30 a.m. or something.
She's
quite
she is a
cold.
Hollywood actress.
She's quite cold.
Cold. Well, I don't know her personally.
I mean, she's not Kate, is she? I mean, you look at
I'd rather
you
like
look
Kate
at
than
you
that.
look
Kate's
you
good.
look at even from before. When they were just courting, Kate Middleton would smile and the world would you just sort of lighten up for a second.
Well, there are.
Doesn't happen with them. But
Well, there's a reason for that. Kate's British, Meghan's American.
yeah, I just think that I just think because she's perhaps because she's American, she doesn't understand what the monarchy really is.
There's almost certainly an element of it.
She just got this sort of handsome, posh boyfriend and didn't realise what her life was about to become.
She wasn't brought up in the world.
And it's a
that
shame
monarchy
because she's
gives.
so pretty.
In many ways, yes.
It would be great if she was nice as well.
Well, I couldn't speak
Quite
for her
like the
personally.
sort
She
of
may well be
the ice
terribly nice
queen
and present.
beauty bitch thing. I quite like. It's quite cool.
Well, it's almost what
right.
you
No, I mean,
yeah.
she is the gay man's perfect princess. You know, she's a total bitch and really beautiful. Always in Givenchy. I mean, I love her. So we have practically the same wardrobe. All right, fine, good. So you think she's going to be all right?
I would say so.
She'll
yes.
settle down.
Probably.
Once she's had a few kids, she'll settle
Yes.
down. And of course,
Well.
when Charles is king, then her kids will be princes, right? Is that when it happens?
Not necessarily. No, it's more because they aren't the.
We've got a
because
royal expert now.
the kid is only 7th in line to the throne, so they're not necessarily going to inherit any titles.
But they could be made princes
If the sovereign decided and
Anyone.
Harry
right.
and
So it
Meghan
really
were up
depends
there,
on
yeah.
her behaviour.
Yeah, really.
So if she
Well,
wants
it-
to be the if she wants to be
there's
the
no
mother of
almost-
princes, she's got
there's
to
an
she's got to
almost-
rein it in a bit.
I'd be very surprised if they did make someone a prince, owing to the fact that the United Kingdom has a massive aversion now to titles, and it just, part of its main pillars of its culture is being taken away. The prime ministers no longer get hereditary earldoms after they leave.
Right.
People are rejecting titles at a great
Do you
rate.
see, if you were to stand on that platform, if you were to stand on a platform, the prime minister's no longer getting hereditary earldoms,
Yes.
I think that you get some traction.
Yes, I genuinely think they should have all pretty much got it. Even Gordon Brown, which out of the ones most lately I didn't particularly like.
What's the coolest title?
Oh gosh, well, the Duke
I know this is like putting a sea of pornography in front of you and asking you to pick a video. But what's
the Sea of Saints, I suppose.
Like giving you a free pass to every website in the world. But what's the coolest title?
Well, there's the Duke of Cornwall, obviously by His Majesty.
Well,
Prince
I just mean
Charles.
like dukedom, earldom. I mean, there's counts. What's the coolest?
So at the top you've got
class?
Emperor, then you've got King, then you've got Grand Duke.
Yep.
Grand Duke, as in Luxembourg. They're the last Grand Duchy.
What about archdukes? Is that a thing?
Oh no, archdukes above Grand Dukes. Actually, I forget. Austria. Yes. Then Grand Dukes. Then princes, as in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Then dukes. Then sovereign princes, as in Liechtenstein or
Yes,
Andorra.
right.
So if you're a prince within a kingdom, you're higher than a duke.
Yeah.
But if you're your own prince, then. Gosh, I'm trying to. I think then Marquis next.
Barons are quite cool.
Marquis after that. Then
Yes.
there's Earls, and then there's Barons. So Baron is of
Baron's
a city.
quite low down, but it does sound
Yes.
cool.
Baron, yes, I sort of prefer Lord because they often call themselves Lord. So if
Right.
I was ever made a peer, which I hope.
I can't imagine that's an
there's no hope.
aspiration of yours. It's not the
No,
sort of
I would never
not
think
the
of
sort of
that.
thing you'd aspire
That's
to.
not
is it?
too tough at all.
No.
So
no.
I would become Lord of Truro. If I was
Would
an
you?
Earl,
Would you?
If I was given the choice, yes. If I was given the choice of an earldom, there is an earldom of Cornwall, and that went
Yep.
extinct in I think the 15th.
So you could
century.
revive that?
I could. I'd very much like to do that if possible.
Fair tip.
Wow. Okay.
Because there were.
You know how annoying it is that that's probably right.
Highly chance.
All right. Well, it's been lovely.
Yes.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you,
round of
Milo.
applause for both of my helpers. What was your name?
Robin.
Robin. Special round of applause for Robin, who has been an absolute delight. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your genius with us. Thank you for the tidbit about princes. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This was wonderful. Right. Good. Thank you very much. Is he coming back at some point? Oh, I've got 8 minutes. 8 minutes. 8 minutes until I can go. No, I'm kidding. It's lovely. Having fun. It's great. All right. Would somebody like to come and talk for 8 minutes? Anybody something to say? Over here? Huh? Oh, you? You're not going to say no. You can come as well. You can come as well. I'm tag teaming. Well, technically, you're tag teaming me. Let's just all right.
I've learned so much today already.
I think he thrust his hand up first.
You sure you don't want to go first?
Mine's very short. Hemp plastic bags. We should colonise the world.
Hemp.
And rid the world of plastic.
Hemp. Yeah, but then you have to go out and admit in public. Sorry, thanks. Then you have to go out and admit in public that you have something made of hemp.
I just agree with government control over plastic in the ocean and everywhere.
You don't want the government to do
Completely get rid of it.
Is hemp cheaper?
It's the only compromise to get rid of plastic.
Well, I don't want to compromise. I want something better or nothing. Is it better?
Yeah.
Why is it better?
To take over the world.
No. Is it better for me?
What's better than that?
No. Like if I go into Marks and Spencer, and because I, at the downpour, need a fresh tie, buy a tie, they give me a bag made of hemp.
Yeah.
Will they charge me for it? Is it more expensive than plastic?
No.
It's not more expensive than plastic.
No, it's going
Does
to be
it
a gradual
last
process of.
So it is more
taking
expensive than plastic,
plastic out of the
and it will
system.
eventually get. See, they say this about solar panels, and if you wanted to power, like one city in America for 20 minutes, you'd need to cover the moon, with solar panels. What about? Thank you.
So, but
Thank you.
you
It was
agree
a slight
that
exaggeration.
plastics-
It was a bit of a joke. I know I'm not. I can't compete with water coming off a gazebo.
You agree that plastic is bad?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it seems to have some unfortunate consequences, but it's most convenient for me. I mean, I'm really not that.
Yeah, you're kind of like the city dweller. So
No. I grew up in the country. I grew up in the countryside. No. I grew up in the countryside in Kent. My 4th birthday present was a pony. Like, don't.
You seem like a plastic kind of guy.
Ooh. Better than hemp.
You can have that one. I had a very challenging upbringing, I'll have you know. What? I don't remember. No, because I think I was 4. She was a grey called Merrylegs. I named her Merrylegs after the grey in Black Beauty, and then she died of laminitis, and kept getting attacked by wild dogs.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's emotional. I did work in Equine Hospital.
Yeah, so don't tell me I don't care about the environment, nature, and animals. I love that horse.
Yeah,
all right.
That's fine.
So I did grow up. No, we're not done yet.
Touch me.
So I did.
That's it.
Okay, there we go. That's nice. This is like. It's like thrusting your hands into the earth. Like touching him, you just feel at one, with the ecosystem.
It's the only thing I've got to argue about. So that's it.
Are they better hemp bags?
Yeah, I think there's a good argument. There's a good argument for hemp plastic.
Okay.
Are they good?
Are they better?
They're going to decompose, aren't they? That's
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Better? What are you using?
I just know that it sounds. What?
What are you using it for?
Well,
I mean, you could double bag anything.
Well, the reason that banning plastic bags is a bad idea is that when you ban plastic bags in supermarkets, people use more plastic, not less, because they reuse those bags for garbage. So the reason that people have thought about and rejected government bans of plastic bags is that when you ban plastic bags, people consume more plastic. Because you might get people to use hemp bags from Marks and Spencer, but you're never going to get people to switch to something else for their garden rubbish or for their trash because they want plastic, because in their minds they think it's a seal. It's plastic. It's not organic, so it'll keep the smells out. They want to close it up at the top. So when you ban plastic bags, people use more, not less, especially because those big bin liners and the garden refuse bags are so much thicker. So per cubic meter of trash, people use way more plastic. Versus a superior alternative, which is just reusing the one they got their tie or their sandwich in. So that's why I'm saying it has to be
ban
better.
Plastic bags.
So you don't want it to decompose.
No, I'm more like targeting plastic in manufacturing generally to reduce the amount of plastic that's being produced.
Right. But you have to win me over, because when you win me over, you win everybody over, because I'm really selfish.
I think that's the only point to be made on it.
No, I am a fair representation of the cold, heartless free market, because I don't give a shit, and I'll do what's cheaper and better, like the market. So if you can win me over, you win. That's what I'm saying, and you haven't. So come back with a cheaper, better alternative.
Yeah, I didn't think about it before I came up and said. I was just going to say, well, what's the best title that we've got on hemp plastic bags?
What?
I was just going to troll it, but there you
go.
go.
Right.
Now we're steady having a full conversation.
No, but it's fine. But I had the opportunity to remember my factoid about people using more plastic.
I'm
which I forgot earlier. So thank you for
disagree with that point.
Well, you can't, because it's a fact.
I haven't.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just. This has been lovely. Thank you very much. And I promise that I will buy something hemp and try it out. No, I will. Don't laugh. I will. I will.
Yes.
All right. You.
Yes. Probably a boring question that's been asked before, but this is going to be good business for you. This might be a money maker. What kind of way
is that to interject? Probably a boring question. Well, fuck off then.
No. It's okay. No. This is a money-making opportunity.
Come over here.
This is a money-making opportunity potentially.
Okay. Well, I could do with that at the moment. So no. All right. So why don't you reformulate it as an interesting question?
Okay.
Sorry, that was mean. I needed to win them over, and I could tell they were mean.
Okay.
So I just.
Yeah. So Milo. Yeah. Okay.
If you have to tell me they're the fun club, they're probably not the fun club. Somebody else is probably the fun club. The fun club is actually probably not here. So you could be the backup fun club, okay? All right.
So
I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. So
start again. I'm sorry for swearing.
Interestingly.
Yes.
This
is a much better start to the question. Yeah, I've got a question. Interestingly. All right, go ahead.
Do you have any plans to go around British universities causing trouble and offending everybody like you did in the States so successfully?
No, because I'm illegal.
You're illegal?
Yes.
You're persona non grata?
No, I'm not illegal. The problem is that public universities in the US are required, though they find lots of bureaucratic ways around and out of it, to be politically agnostic. You know, they can't turn you down for a venue or cancel a speech on the basis of what you believe. This is a consequence of the First Amendment, which is really cool. In Britain, pretty much all universities are quote unquote public. They're all, you know, state funded. But the people who control the venues are the student unions. And so if you want to get invited, you by and large have to get invited by a society, more often than not in a venue or with some kind of contact with the student union. Very often, most of the time, and especially for the big venues. If you want to go, I mean, when I announce a college talk, I'll sell like 2,000 tickets in 2 days. If I want to talk in that sized venue, the student union owns it or controls it.
Sure.
And student unions being what they are, it's simply impossible. I've spent about $650,000 in the last 2 years on events that never happened here and in the US, on lawyers, venue deposits that were never returned, staff and all the rest of it. So I'm out for a bit. So I'm tapped out.
What about student unions that aren't really student unions, like Cambridge Union, Oxford Union?
They're better, and I had an invitation to speak at the Cambridge Union, and I did it, which was like 2 years ago, I think. And I think Oxford asked me, and I couldn't make it. So stuff like that, of course.
Right.
One of the Eton societies asked me too, but I can't remember why that didn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah, no, places like that, of course. And what's the other one? Is it Durham or Edinburgh that runs
There are other
collegiate?
ones, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're a lot easier
Yeah.
because the colleges typically control their own venues, and there's no centralized student union of insanity. You know, so you don't get like the feminist LGBT collective ruling everybody. So that's the reason. The reason is you don't have a First Amendment in this country. Therefore, even publicly funded places are not required to treat you fairly. If you believe the wrong things, you're out. And what the universities have done here is hand over control, supposedly, to the student unions, who they know will do the dirty work for them. They know the students are going to be even crazier than the faculty, and they know that this will basically just keep anything to the. I mean, all conservatives are out, let alone me. So they know that the students are going to do their dirty work for them, so they don't need to institute rules or get into trouble or become unpopular. So that's the reason. So the last talk I did here was private in London. I mean, it was open and people could. I think everything was pretty cheap. It was like $20 or something. But universities, I think they're lost cause for common sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, that was my interesting question.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It was a sensible question. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else with anything burning, anything burning a hole in their pockets, their pants? Anybody say? Oh, you do. Okay, fine. Well, you will be our last guest speaker for the day.
Thank you, Milo.
Please come up here. Come and stand in the different brick.
Try and lower the tone of my voice a bit because I sound a bit funny on microphone.
You do?
Yeah.
You sound funny on microphone.
Yeah, right on. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I don't know an awful lot about you, Milo, because I've been mainly watching Carl on the internet.
Yeah, thanks.
Amongst a few others. Sorry, but you're all right,
You know, I'm
mate.
much more famous than him, right? I'm like
no.
a real
No.
big deal.
Really, sorry,
Yeah,
ignorance.
like huge.
I believe you.
Well, I was.
Anyway.
About 2 years ago.
A few years
and
ago.
then things took a dark turn. And now I'm supporting Carl Benjamin for European Parliament in Truro.
Well, do you know what, Milo?
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm being disruptive.
So am I. I'm here to support Carl as well.
Yeah, of course. Good. Do you have a question or something you'd like to share?
I would like. I used to be a councillor in Newquay, which isn't far away. It's a lovely little seaside town, and you know, you get to see a few things. And one of the problems we had was the destruction of our public toilets. And do you know how we got rid of?
Was it gay people?
No, it wasn't actually. It was
because we've done terrible things to public toilets.
I'm sure you have.
In them and around them.
But we
through
found
holes in them.
There was all that kind of stuff going on.
There was. Yeah.
We found a really interesting way of stopping.
Do you have a special task force for that, by the way?
We
Just
do
sort
now.
of mopping it up.
We do now.
Yeah.
I'm no longer a member of the council. I used to
Right.
be a Conservative councillor.
That's all right.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not a problem.
My ties with the Conservative Party are pretty well.
No, I mean, I don't know that I was a member of any party until this one a year ago because they started doing all the free speech stuff, although I had always basically been pretty UKIP-y.
Currently supporting 3 different parties.
You're supporting 3 different parties?
Small, tiny little.
How are you going to do that on voting
donations.
day?
UKIP are going to get my vote for.
Okay, good. There's no shame.
Upcoming.
There's no shame in being a conservative. There are plenty of lovely people
Well,
who are
I was
conservatives.
listening to you earlier. You've got a thing about conservatives. You don't like them anymore.
No. I just like to tease people, because just when somebody obviously is quite proud of it and it's part of their identity, I quite like to
be
ridicule. Okay,
I used to be.
Well, so you.
I used to be proud.
It's perfectly fine. You're among friends.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you because
Yes.
you're obviously you've been deplatformed by a couple of the various larger, all of them,
Yes.
except one. And I just think that it's a problem to do with political correctness, obviously. And I just wanted to ask you or discuss with you that everybody is different, and some people will take offence quite easily.
Yes.
The problem for me is when they take offence on purpose. And
Yes,
we end up
that's most of
losing
them, yeah.
freedoms,
Yeah.
various
Yes.
different types. So
Yeah.
I just wondered what your take was
Well,
on that.
the problem is that if you...
It's not a milkshake.
So no, just let me know when you're done.
I understand there might have been a milkshake incident earlier.
Oh, really? It's okay, because I've got Khalees's milkshake, queued up on the PA, so I'm just going to own it if it happens, It's just whatever. I do. The problem is with laws that contain feelings-based, unverifiable, unfalsifiable elements, right? So if you have a law that is not concerned with matters of fact, did somebody punch somebody? Did somebody steal money? But is it a law that that involves some kind of intangible harm, where you have to trust on the testimony of somebody, and you can't reach inside their head and figure out if they're being honest or not? These are the kinds of laws that shouldn't exist because they are invitations to abuse, and they don't fix anything like the number of problems that they create. They are a magnet for hoaxes and for activists and for paid special interests and all the rest of it. And if you look at, the very simple answer to your question is laws which for in order for somebody to be prosecuted, require some kind of unverifiable psychiatric harm to have been done. They shouldn't be on the books, because not only because I don't trust anyone, least of all a judge who heard of Twitter last week, to determine whether or not, contextually speaking, reasonably speaking, I was being quote unquote so offensive as to whatever. I don't trust anybody to make that determination. The governments have repeatedly demonstrated that they're incapable of legislating around the internet and speech over and over again, so they should just get out of the business of doing it.
Absolutely.
But the real reason they should be is the invitation to abuse. And if you look at hate crime hoaxes in the US, and Jussie Smollett is kind of like the crowning glory of this genre, but I've been writing about this since 2010.
Yeah.
I wrote a piece for Breitbart about hundreds of these. It's always lesbians for some reason, by the way. Did you know that? It's always lesbians. They're always, I'm not being flippant. When you look at the data, it's always feminist lesbian activists who say that they have been yelled at in the street, their cars have been keyed and all the rest of it, and it always did it themselves. Hundreds of examples a year of this sympathy across. Well, it is partly to get sympathy, but it's also for political objectives, because if you can't find enough, if you can't beat people in debate, and one of the things that you'll notice over the next couple of years is they're going to start saying debate is not a good means to find out what people believe, and it's not a good way to conduct public life because it just attracts shysters and blowhards and all the rest of it.
It's the moral crowd.
The real reason that they don't like debate is because it's the province of men. Men are good in high stakes, high pressure situations, typically, broadly speaking, generally, which is why education system being initially architected for boys was very exam heavy. Now it's moving the other direction, and people are the pendulum is swinging a little too far in the other direction. There's now an excessive focus on coursework because it's how women learn better and because it's how women perform better, right? Same thing with live public debates. Men are really good at them, and the sort of wimpy, namby-pamby progressive left types, male and female, suck under pressure. They fall apart, and they have to claim abuse and harassment as an excuse as to why they didn't perform or they didn't bring it or they didn't know what they're doing. So this is why this is the attack on debate thing. If you can't win on the ordinary playing field. You have to invent new.
Yes, that's what's going on. Yes.
Right. You have to invent new ways to achieve your political objectives, and one of them is to paint yourself as a victim of the bigoted, evil, violent, malevolent opposition by pretending that you have been the victim of some kind of hate crime. If you can't prove that all Republicans are racist with words or with debate, why not just stage an attack? It's like, see, she called me a XYZ and blah blah blah. And if you do it at enough frequency and often enough, it feels like an epidemic.
That's
and
a lot of
that's
a lot of meat on the bones there. Okay, but
yes,
there's a big problem, and that is in general with society, certainly our society, is if you bring ambiguity into something people don't understand, then you know, that's a real problem, because no one really understands the boundaries of which they have to operate, and the loss of freedom of speech.
That's why there shouldn't be any.
Well, there shouldn't. There should be absolute freedom of speech. You should be able to say exactly what you want to whomever you want without them being necessarily offended. That is a choice for them. They stand there and they make that decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can call me whatever you like, sweetheart.
No,
Well, I
you
don't
can't.
know if you speak
He
for
is
everybody,
absolutely
but you can
welcome
certainly tell me
here.
how you feel.
Go and join the anti-fascist.
Do you want to come over? You obviously want to be heard, so why not have a microphone?
I will tell you
Come and stand here. Let's have a chat.
that we saw your lot off before. My parents fought in the Second World War against people standing for this shit.
My lot.
Who's his lot?
Okay, let's be calm.
The far right
Let's just. Okay, can I?
will take us into identitarian politics, nationalism and
Okay,
division.
okay.
They will take us into
Okay, I
a situation where there is no trade but this extreme version that you are trying to bring by Brexit, by causing division and separation, by saying no deal is the best deal. This is bullshit, and everybody who knows anything knows this. And the
Okay.
fact is that every time this has happened in the past, in history, it leads to war. It leads to repression of women, and it leads to repression
That's
of gay
the opposite
people
of
and
what's been
minorities,
happening over the last
and
20
it leads
years.
to war. And this is what a result of free trade going too
People
mad,
have more
of globalization going too mad. We tried to
freedoms
hold
than
it
ever
back.
before.
The left tried to hold that back for long.
Right.
And the thing is, it didn't work because the police came
Just
and
let her-
repressed us.
It's
And
look,
this
not
is
many-
why
not
we
many
now
people
have a
wanna come up and do
situation
this,
where
so let her
people are
talk.
so unhappy that they are turning
You're
in
unhappy.
desperation to the modern incarnation of people like Mosley, the shame of this country.
Okay, so let's-
So we
let's-
now have people
let's-
like you coming
can-
and speaking in our towns,
can you pause
and
for a
you
second?
are
Can you-
shameful.
can you
And
pause-
no, and I do not
That is
have
your
any
opinion.
interest in listening to you. You said we can say what we want, when we want,
course
and
you
where
can.
we
That's how
want.
it should
I
be.
am
Yeah.
speaking, and I am telling you,
Carry
you are a creep, and you are not welcome in our Cornwall. Goodbye.
Well, you're in the minority there, mate.
Look, she gets points
Exactly
for
that.
wanting to talk at all. She
Absolutely.
loses them all for. It's not quite having a conversation, which is what I invited her to. Having her say and running away, but I think that to equate, a gay interracially married, half Jewish guy with hours of YouTube videos saying white pride is not the answer, white nationalism is a bad thing, I believe in people's values and not their skin color, with Oswald Mosley and the Nazis. I think we all know which side of that was shameful. This is something that you're not familiar with this yet because you haven't really been, I suppose, you haven't really had truly nasty, teeth-bared politics in this country, probably not for a couple of hundred years, I guess. Sorry, I didn't decapitate you.
It's okay. It's not
I don't
raining
think
now,
it.
by the way.
I just like it.
Suits you. Thought I'd inform you.
There hasn't really been that kind of politics here for a really long time. But in America, where I have been for the last half decade, things are absolutely brutal. And
Loving
partly
American politics.
Right. Well,
Loving it.
the flip side of that great, wonderful First Amendment thing is that people can do that, but they can do it in the pages of the New York Times.
Doesn't seem to be being defended very well at the moment, though.
Well, no, but the problem is if they because it's the same people writing the stories as it is deplatforming you from social media and providing the intellectual and academic ballast, the argument, the intellectual basis for the argument that, for instance, speech is violence. When you have one side of the political divide that has total lockup of all the institutions of civil society, there's a problem there, right? And so you can, this is the sort of thing that has been said about me by every major media group in America. And those journalists, as they're writing, know that I have, for hours on American college campuses, said precisely, don't give in to identitarian politics, don't give in to the skin color stuff. This is not the answer. This is not going to make you happy. They know that when they write the stories, because they've seen the videos. They just don't care. And the flip side of the free speech thing, and something that Brits I think find very uncomfortable and terrifying, is if you get the right to tell jokes, that kind of stuff pops up in newspapers.
Yeah, but British humour is a lot to do with double entendre, a lot to do with telling smutty jokes to each other and having a bit of a giggle at it.
Yes.
Now, if there's a third party that overhears that and decides to take offence to it, then where's our sense of humour and our Britishness gone? I mean,
I think it's getting stamped out because people are doing precisely that for political reasons, right? And the press is sort of, will go through I mean, they've now got enough strategies where they don't have to libel you to ruin your life anyway.
No, but what
Look
they
what
are
they've
doing,
done to Carl,
Milo.
right? They've taken this stuff which has a clear, specific function and purpose in a larger debate about free speech, and they're using it to try to suggest that he is an unsavory character who actually harbors some kind of intention of violence against women.
Yeah.
I mean, you met the guy. It's ludicrous, right?
Yes.
And by association and by extension, they want you to believe the same thing about UKIP, and they want you then to believe the same thing about conservatives generally, and most importantly, which is the real purpose of all this, they want you to believe that about anyone who wants Brexit.
Yes.
They want to associate all the things that, well, what this really is not so much about the race stuff that she seems obsessed with. What this really is about is class. This is about journalists and politicians suddenly coming into contact with working people and being slightly horrified by it. Because when I'm standing opposite you, I can tell from from your accent and from what you're wearing where you come from and plan accordingly and match accordingly. But if it's a comment section on the internet, you have no idea who this person is, where they're coming from or whatever. All you know is that they're calling you names and they've pointed out 6 things you got wrong in your article. Well, a normal moral person would say, we got to employ better journalists because they're getting ripped to shreds. But instead, what the media did was just close all the comment sections. Can't get us if you can't comment, loser. And they're doing the same thing. This is replicated across society. Just like she wants to have her say and then run away, we're now returning to sort of the era of broadcast media where they get to say, you're a Nazi and you're a Nazi and you're a Nazi. Okay, bye. That's like pretty much exactly how the media functions in America. And so the flip side of this free speech thing is that's what you welcome in at the same time as no longer having to be afraid of what you say and no longer having to watch your tongue. All of those sort of libel, defamation things, it's like, I'm going to sue you because you destroyed my reputation. It's all gone. It's all gone, and it becomes a sort of Wild West survival of the fittest. Yeah. So the weakness in my argument and in his, which I acknowledge, is that that's fine if you're eloquent, if you are persuasive, and if you have courage, and if you don't care what people say about you. But most people don't have all of those 4 things. No. So it can be terrifying when, absolutely. For instance, the media picks on somebody innocent when it punches down. Because when they come for me, it's like punching level because I'm one of them, When they pick an ordinary citizen, like Gorka used to do this a lot with Justine Sacco. She made a joke about AIDS when she was on a plane to Africa. Didn't have service on the plane. Gets off the plane in Africa. She's lost her job. She's lost her life. She's become, she's front page news. He's like, whoa. Just because she made a sort of slightly crap joke about AIDS. This is when the media punches down. You have no recourse at all in America because it's like
a talk radio host lose his job.
Danny,
what's his face?
Danny Baker,
That's
who I just remember as being just like a jolly, harmless guy.
And
I absolutely believe him when he says it didn't even occur to him about race. He just thought the picture was funny, because who doesn't laugh at stuff like that? I totally believe him because normal people aren't obsessed with this stuff. They are. Yeah. We're not. It doesn't occur to me. Like, I was like,
but it's always been okay to rip the piss out of the royal family.
Yes.
And I don't see why that should be any different. They've just had a baby. It's all fantastic.
But this is great for the left because they get to do 2 things. Is they get to present an argument as to why people should not have free speech about public figures, and they get to present any and all criticism of a public figure as evidence of racism from the right. The racism they've been searching for years. Like I have met some real racists in America, people who are actual racists. You know,
America.
Yeah, well,
only in America.
Not as many as you think, but because of the kind of work I do, I've
There's
I've interviewed them, I've written about them, I've met actual racists. I don't know that I've ever met one in Britain. Maybe I didn't know it, but I've certainly nobody who
we tend
felt
to be quite polite over here.
Well, certainly nobody who felt able to express those opinions freely, thinking that they would be able to walk around in civilized society and get away with it, because it's just not tolerated
that
here.
again, when I was, if I
thank
can,
God, you know.
When before that lady was came in and said her piece, I was going to say something that's just completely slipped my mind. Oh my God, sorry, carry on.
No, I was done too.
All right,
see if you can trace it back.
I'll
what were we talking about
try
before
and trace
that?
it back. Well, we were going on about political correctness.
We were
stuff. I'm trying to remember the thread I was going on, but sorry, it's gone.
No, it's all right.
So
It'll come back to you. It'll come back to you.
All right.
All right. I think that we're probably done for the day because when he comes back from his thing, I have to catch a train because I've got to go. And thank you so much. If you remember in the next 5 minutes, then run up. We'll still have everything here. I have to go and give a speech to the German Parliament tomorrow to the AfD MPs about press freedom and immigration and stuff like that. So I have to go and write lots of jokes about 1940s Germany. I haven't written any of it yet, but I'll think aloud. Just something like, so for the second time in its history. It's good enough, isn't it? Yeah. All you got to do is add the word again to a few sentences, you know. For the second time in its history, you know, Germany's being ruled over by a, diminutive autocrat with unfortunate facial hair, who's, making the fatherland inhospitable for Jews. So it's just, it's a work in progress. Thank you very much, everybody. Vote for him. He's okay. What? Oh, yeah, sure. Well, he's not here. So they don't want a photo with me. All right, I'll come in anyway.